The Fell Winter, Chapter 1. Beneath a grey and quickly darkening sky lies the far-rolling country of the Shire. Usually it is green and pleasant with lush pastures and flowing rivers. And now it is covered with a thick blanket of ever-falling snow. The rivers are frozen. Icicles hang from the frosty eaves of trees. They seem to twinkle and sing every time the cruel wind blows. Thin columns of smoke rising from the chimneys of buried Hobbit Holes are one of the scant clues that anyone lives here at all. Just outside of Michel Delving, the chief town of the Shire, there lies one such Hobbit Hole. Its round green door has recently been cleared and made free from the snowdrifts. Guests are expected at the current home of the remarkable Belladonna Took and her husband, Bungo Baggins. Belladonna is the 9th child of the old Took, the current Thane of the Shire, who has given his final word that all hobbits must batter down the hatches and wait for conditions to improve. There's a slim portion of hobbit families that are calling for something to be done. They have named this as the Fell Winter, and know in their hearts that this is only the beginning of a season of dangers. Answering the rebellious call of Belladonna, we find 4 hobbits from the north, east, west, and south farthings. As night falls, you are all ushered in from the cold. A wave of warmth washes over you after your long, cold trek. Belladonna's smile is equally warm, and the smell of a tasty supper wafts in the air around you. She wears a flowery dress in defiance of the season, with an apron covered in gravy and rich cooking juices. As she says, "Well, hello, my dears. Thank you for coming. I've not seen each of you since you were yay high." And she does that motherly gesture to indicate that you were once much smaller than you are even now. As you enter in from the cold, I'd like you to just give a brief introduction of your hobbit, and we will start with Floxana Took.
Floxana Took is exactly average height for a hobbit. She has curly brown hair, much like everyone in her family, and she looks around Belladonna's house, eyes wide and sparkling, perhaps, as they see such finery as she's not accustomed to. You might see her right hand twitch.
And next in order to enter, Meriadoc Hornblower.
Meriadoc steps in, stomps his stout, fuzzy feet to work some of the cold out of them. He sets this very worn and gnarled walking stick that you'll never see this young hobbit without. Something he got from his grandfather. Leans it up against the wall as he shakes the snow off of this rather flamboyant hat with this feather. He says that it's from some exotic bird that he saw, but everyone else knows that it's one of the chicken feathers that he got from his mother's yard. But he shakes the snow off it nonetheless. Kind of smiles a little bit at Phlox, gives her a little bit of a tip of the head, and you see that there's like these little wet. He too has like this brown curly hair, and where it's a little bit of a little damp from the weather. Like does a little shudder.
Perfect. And next in line we see Lobelia Lolo Brandybuck.
So Lolo comes through the door, and she takes the hood of her thick woolen cloak down, and as she does so, her hair, which is normally pretty unruly because she just doesn't usually bother herself with mundane things like grooming. Her hair, which is normally really unruly, kind of puffs up a little bit more with the static from the woolen cloak, and just kind of out. And she kind of shakes off some of the snow and hangs up her cloak and looks around, sniffing at the air. Oh, something smells very good. Oh, what a spread you've laid out.
Yeah, you detect, your fine nostrils detect the telltale smell of turnips, a little bit of mutton, which is rare in these days, and the Shire's Old Faithful, the potato. And finally, in our procession, we see Frederick Hildegar Hardbottle.
Fred will come in. He's clanking. He has these like really finely made pots and pans that he brings whenever he's going on a long walk or an adventure. He got them from some dwarves that came through the Shire when he was young. He's not anymore. He's sort of probably the oldest of the group. His hairline is receding. He's tall for a hobbit. He's 4'3.5", which is pretty unusually tall. And he's a brace girdle, so he's bigger, sort of more squat than a lot of hobbits are. And he'll sort of very noisily sort of take off his big backpack and like clang, 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 onto the ground with the pots and pans, and then he'll like go down and like organize that, stand back up and say, plenty cold. Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you for coming, she says, and as she's ushering you inside, she's muttering things like, oh, you must be famished. Before anything else, we shall have supper. Times are hard, but it's my birthday, so Bungo is making my favorite stew. And as I said, you can smell those turnips, those carrots, that mutton, the potato, all cooking beautifully. You are ushered in, and you are treated to a rather fine meal. Now, it probably goes without saying that you guys, you all have probably not eaten this well in a little while. Fell winter is at its height currently, and supplies are beginning to dwindle. This is a time of great hardship for the Shire. So you can tell that these particular ingredients have been reserved for this special occasion. As you eat your fill, you're able to enjoy conversation, perhaps catch up, perhaps you know each other, perhaps you're all related. Most likely you're related. And then this dish is followed by some seed cakes and warm honey cakes, and you can enjoy them whilst you sit by a modest fire. And after some time, you are permitted or asked if you would like to smoke some old Toby. So you can sit by the fire and begin to smoke. As you do so, you notice that there is a young hobbit boy who is sat by the fire, watching the embers crackle. The room is dark, warm, and filled with the sweet scent of smoke. Eventually, Belladonna moves back in from the kitchen and sits in a rocking chair before you all. And she says, almost all of the families of the Shire have risen to the occasion. A proud and kind spirit has kept us going through the darkening nights. Brandy bucks and brace girdles, clay hangers and cottons, Goldworthies and Gamgees, Lightfoots, Proudfoots, Proudfeet, and Tooks have all done their bit. And Bagginses, calls Bungo from the washing up. And Bagginses, she concedes. Though from what I've heard, the Sackville Bagginses have been hoarding things to themselves. Perhaps you each can share a dark look around at this moment about the selfish nature of the Sackville Bagginses. Do you think any of you have had any run-ins with the Sackville Bagginses before?
Fred hasn't, but he's heard about them and that they're notoriously greedy.
Absolutely.
Fluxana has definitely had run-ins, perhaps liberating certain items from their greed in her youth, of course. She would never do such a thing now.
Of course.
I think I don't think so for Mara. I think because he's a much younger hobbit, I think he just hears stories about them, and though he's never witnessed any of this himself, but you know, why wouldn't he trust his parents, right?
Lolo, what is it? Lolo's namesake is actually a Sackville Baggins. She's also a younger hobbit, and she was named after, what is it, after Lobelia, who Lolo's not sure, apparently did something important in the past, but she pretty much knows her only by reputation and hasn't spent a lot of time. But in the course of hunting, trapping, and trading, she has had a couple of interactions with some of the other Sackville Bagginses, but those interactions are usually very brief, and Lolo's not a very outspoken person, and a lot of them tend to be very big personalities. So,
Of course. Perfect. So a lot of Lobelias in that family, it seems. But despite that, Belladonna will continue, and she will say, while the folk of the Shire have proven their worth, I fear it still may not be enough. Not only do supplies grow scarce, but our borders have come under threat. I'm going to share a secret with you only a few hobbits have ever chosen to discover. And she leans in conspiratorially, and all of you probably have to lean in closer to hear what she whispers next. For a very long time, the Shire has been protected in secret by a presence beyond. Big folk call themselves rangers. That protection ended where the snows came. With the Brandywine River frozen, creatures, the like we've not seen in many years, have crossed into our lands. You've all heard their call, the howling deep in the night. You're some of the few that have chosen not to ignore it. Fred, being from the North Farthing, you are most likely to have heard this howling. Can you recall a specific occasion when such a ghastly noise was first heard by you?
Yeah, Fred, for his main, I guess, job, carves pipes. And so he has to go hunting for nice bits of wood quite frequently. And he was out in the snow, sort of wandering, searching for like a nice piece of birch. And he heard this like howl in the distance, and he like remembers stopping and looking up and listening. And he didn't get to be this age by making brash decisions. And so he quickly turned back and followed his footsteps all the way back to his door, closed it, bolted it, and kept the family within. And that's when he decided to come here, that something had to be done about it. He's not one to disturb the peace, really, but this is unacceptable.
As we see the door of Fredegar slam shut, we're brought back into the darkness and the warmth of this place, and we see Belladonna looking each one of you in the eye, trying to implore you with the danger that only a few hobbits have chosen to accept. She leans forward again. You must find the big folk and treat with them for food, supplies, and help in defending our borders. You must take the East Road across the length of the Shire. Once you reach the Brandywine River, you must cross to enter the Old Forest, for the way north is far too treacherous and far too open to the elements. Once you reach the river, you will need to decide to take the Brandywine Bridge that is almost certainly watched, or to risk the ice. And that probably sends a shiver of fear throughout each of you. Perhaps not the Brandybuck, whose family is used to boating upon the river, but to the rest of you, there is an ancestral fear of deep water that runs like a terrifying shard of ice through the hearts of most hobbits.
Not natural. Fred will mutter to himself. He takes a drag from his like very long, ostentatious pipe. I imagine there's like a scene where everyone took out their various pipes, and his is like ridiculous. Like he has to like it's almost like an oboe or something. He has to like lean all the way down to like light it, and then he can sit and place it on the ground and smoke it. And he'll like
It's got like 4 pieces and it all fits together.
He'll like grumble out of the side of his mouth and like chew on the smoke and say, "Not natural to be on the water like that."
Miss Belladonna, if it's animals, creatures like, why would they watch a bridge?
From what I can tell, they're watching it for people who leave the Shire. There have been others that have wandered, mainly towards Brandybuck Hall. And Lola, this should strike at you somewhat, for Brandybuck Hall is one of the few places across the other side of the water that hobbits dare to venture to. And hobbits there have not come back. Each have taken that pass, and each has not returned.
Well, maybe they're better provisioned on the other side of the water, and so they choose to stay.
Belladonna will fix you with a look and then nod and say, perhaps.
I think Mara's been kind of puffing at this pipe that is not anywhere near as ostentatious as Fred's. And I think if one were to look at him, they think it's probably like this contemplative look. And he goes, nope, not right at all. There must be some mistake. Nope. I shouldn't be here. Nope. He kind of looks across to everybody, goes, I beg your pardon. I don't know what my master was thinking when he sent me here, but he clearly didn't understand the purpose. But I thank you very much for the meal, and if it would be okay with you, I'd just like a place to sleep so that I can return back to my Hobbit hole. And he just kind of starts rambling on.
What is wrong with you, Maradoc? You're as shook as a dwarfish hand. Enough.
Maradoc Hornblower, I didn't take you for a chicken.
Yeah, well, I'm an eater of chickens, but one might say if I eat enough chickens that maybe I might take on some of their traits. But I am certain that Bill Cotton, my master, would not have sent me into anywhere in harm's way. And it does sound like this is an awful unsafe mission. He kind of looks at Belladonna at that point.
Oh, of course. What I'm asking you isn't going to be easy. If it were 20 years ago, it would be me walking east, taking the east road to the Brandywine. Bungo would have to lock me in the pantry to stop me going. But I cannot go. And she glimpses across the fire and glimpses the young hobbit boy who is fallen asleep next to it. In fact, let's do a roll. I was going to say, but let's actually see if any of you would actually know this about her.
Crap, we need dice.
Yeah. Anything to do with history or lore would be ideal.
I think that's actually something I'm fairly good at.
Okay. Advantage to anyone who has Took blood. So, Taylor, you'll be rolling with advantage if you do.
History or lore? 17.
17.
15.
Okay.
Yeah, Fred is a philosopher of the idea that if you keep your nose out of trouble, no trouble will find you, and so doesn't try to get involved in anybody else's business.
Maybe not. Is that everyone? Lolo, did you get anything higher than 17? No, that's okay. So, I mean, to be honest, most of you would have heard like the odd rumor, but Maradoc in particular and Phlox as well know that Belladonna Took is called the Remarkable Donna. Belladonna Took for a very good reason, and that is that often in her youth, she went off on adventures. She went off with all different sorts of people and wandering into the wilds, into the old forest, and some say even beyond. This is a trait that is not shared by many hobbits, but some. This has caused most to sort of shun her a little bit or to disapprove of her. In fact, being in her home is probably enough to get the neighbors sort of like frowning and wondering why you're there. But yeah, so you can tell that she would definitely be going on this adventure if she did not have other responsibilities. But she looks upon you, Maradoc, as you say that you don't want to go, and she says, well, of course, that is your choice. You don't have to go at all if you do not want. But these are desperate times, and if we continue to ignore the truth of the matter, then it'll be every hobbit, every single hobbit, that will suffer the consequences of inaction. She is very serious all of a sudden. It's almost like she isn't talking like a hobbit right now. She's speaking in a way that you could like make akin to the old tales, for example. There's that kind of air about her that changes suddenly.
Oh, it's not that I don't want to go. It's well, you know, who's going to look after my mother and you know, and he's kind of looking at the others. Yes, four sisters and a brother. I think there's this look of desperation as you like literally pull apart his argument. And then I think he looks over at Lolo. He realizes no. And he doesn't even try with Fred. He just kind of just takes his couple of like hard puffs off of his pipe. Well, looks like we're going on an adventure, and
you might learn something good out of it. You never know till you get there.
Belladonna is looking between each of you, and she says, well, you'll have until the morning if you want to change your mind. Now, I can't be going with you. I wish I could, but I can't. That doesn't mean to say I can't send you out with doesn't mean I can't send you with help. It's my birthday, and as you know, that we give gifts rather than receive them here in the Shire. She bids you to stand, each of you standing there silhouetted by the crackling fire in the hearth. You, Maradoc Hornblower, I should like you to take this. She produces before you a mahogany tinderbox lined with silver. An odd-looking rune is carved into the lid of this thing. She opens it and strikes at it, and instantly a flame appears. Its light will never fail you, and it'll never go out, even in the harshest storm or in the cruelest blizzard.
I think, yeah, he kind of reaches over and grabs this box. These big, wide eyes.
Perfect. Next, she moves before Lolo Brandybuck.
Lolo kind of jumps a little, startled, and yips.
Now she holds in two hands before her a large brass cooking pot. It is decorated with flowing patterns of flowers and bees, motifs of summer and spring. You can tell that it is lovingly tarnished by hundreds of different cooking fires. And she says, "Take this, Lolo. You'll find that even in the harshest of times, it will bulk the thinnest of stews." And she hands you this cooking pot.
Oh, Miss Belladonna, I don't know what to say. It's such a well-seasoned pot. We'll put this to such good use.
She smiles and then stands before Frederick Harbottle. She is holding a leather-bound case, and it's stacked full of different notes and writings. This is the oldest map of the Shire and beyond. I've taken it with me on many an exploit. It should now be yours. This leather-bound, cracked case is, like I say, brimming with notes and writings about various locations, landmarks, and lore of the Shire.
He looks at it quite interested, although maybe she would notice, she's very perceptive, that he looks sort of longingly at the pots for a second, but then says, "Thank you very much. This is a kingly gift."
She smiles and then finally stands before Belladonna Took. "Finally, I've been meaning to pass this to you for some time now, but the occasion never seemed right, never seemed proper, until now." In her hands now, she is holding a horn. It looks to have been taken from a large animal of some kind. It twists as it gets to the end of its pipe. "This here is the horn of Belladonna Took. Its sound will never falter, and its note will always hold. It is yours now." And she presses the hunting horn into your hands.
Who?
Belladonna Took, he was a mighty fine hobbit. He was of similar ilk to me, and as I understand it, yourself. He fought against goblins, you know.
Your uncle or something. How do you not know him?
I have a lot of uncles.
Well, it's yours now. May it serve you well. So this gift-giving ceremony has effectively awarded you each an item that once per day grants you expertise on your journey roll. So you add double your proficiency when making one roll on the journey rolls. And as Fred was looking at the cooking pot, you may wish to swap if you wish, but those are what are awarded to you. She also presents you each with, let me see, there was something else. She presents you each with long white cloaks lined with rabbit fur to keep you warm against the bitter cold of the fell winter.
Yeah, Fred will look at it, very pleased at this gift. It's cold. It's very cold. He's just walked here from up north, and it's worse up there. And he like turns it this way and that, and will look at her and nod and smile. "Thank you very much."
Now, I have to put young Bilbo to bed, but feel free to talk into the night, plan your journey. The way will be long. It'll be at least a 4-day walk from this end of the Shire to the Brandywine River. So you'll have plenty of time to make your decision whether you'll be taking the bridge or risking the ice. If you'll excuse me. And she picks up the young sleeping Bilbo and carries him off to bed.
Lolo's rubbing on the like kind of really looking at the rabbit fur that's on the cloak and rubbing it between her fingers.
This is quite nice. I think this might be the Angora type rabbit. Yes, they're very fluffy, fluffier than most. Oh, this is quite a gift. It won't weigh me down as much as the woolen cloak will.
Not unless you fall in water.
Well, we really shouldn't be that near the water. It's quite cold right now. That's absolutely not someplace you want to be.
If there isn't anything else that you wish to discuss, we will then fade out upon this moment, the crackling of the fire. You're each given warm beds and blankets in which to stay the night here. And one by one, each of you can drift off to sleep. The last things you likely hear is Belladonna singing to Bilbo. Home is behind, the world ahead, and there are many paths to tread, through shadows to the edge of night, until the stars are all alight. Then world behind and home ahead, we'll wander back to home and bed. Mist and twilight, cloud and shade, away shall fade, away shall fade. Fire and lamp, and meat and bread, and then to bed, and then to bed. The morning is stark, it is cold, but bright. The four of you are equipped, you are cloaked and ready to begin your journey from this side of the Shire in the very western farthing to the very east. And we shall begin with the journey rules. So it's broken into three parts. So we're going to assign the roles. We've already done that. So we're going to set a pace. What pace do you think you'll be heading on as you embark on your first day's journey?
Well, Fred's not as young a hobbit as he used to be, so we probably should set a very gentle pace as we travel along this.
He will not hear of that.
Frosty road.
Fred has done like a lot of adventuring in his day, probably more than a lot of other hobbits. He's a bit of a wanderer. He likes to explore within the Shire. Yeah, I think a normal pace is the way to go. I don't think we are yet needing to rush, and I think we also don't want to take forever.
Okay. So, I'm just making sure I get the roles correct. So we begin with the navigation check. Is that correct, Lloyd?
We eat breakfast, although maybe we don't pay for that today because we're
correct. You won't be you won't be having to pay for breakfast or consume any breakfast from your existing supply. I should have said you've been given supply from various hobbits who are kind of aligned with your course and have donated little bits here and there.
Since we're hobbits, shouldn't we double our resources? I'm just saying.
We eat twice as much as normal people.
That's true.
Because we're gonna have breakfast and then we're gonna have 11sies.
I think we're.
Then we
I
have
think
lunch.
We're
Then we have midtime
hobbits,
tea.
so the larders have been getting thinner and
Yeah.
thinner over time. So
Yep.
Yeah, it's probably a wistful fancy, the notion of 11s this far into winter at this point. But if you want to eat all your supplies in like that, by all means.
Okay, I get a 19 on the die, and I have some pluses. I think. What did we use for? Like survival? Is that acceptable? I think so, right?
It's whatever
About the loot?
you
Yeah.
say what you want to use, really. I think, yeah.
I think it was like
And-
survival or perception.
Perception is investigate, any of those, yeah, right?
Right.
yeah. And don't forget, once per day, so in one of the stages of travel in the day, you can double your proficiency using one of the storied items you received in the gift giving.
So I get a 23 survival then for navigating the route. I know we're in the Shire and there's roads still, so I guess, you know.
It's good. So you
Right, we get advantage while we're still here in the Shire.
not advantage, but you listen, you're absolutely right. You'll be following the East Road for a good long portion of this journey. So it is difficult to go wrong, but hey, the snows can be
The snow is heavy.
for sure. And not many hobbits are treading past between the different portions of the Shire. As a matter of fact, you probably haven't seen many hobbits as you've wandered from your various homes. So that's perfect. You're able to set off along the East Road. So that's
Scouting as we go.
scouting as we go. So yeah, it's a scouting roll in the morning as well, please. Thank you.
That's a 24 for scouting.
Okay.
Nice.
On rocks over here.
Kicking off big style. This will be it. We'll get one real good day when we're still in safety.
The first day when we could go back and get more food or whatever.
Yeah, perfect. Well, this as well to you, Flockstander, is very familiar to you. This is the land where, as a Took, you would have grown up in the West Farthing. You've never seen weather or conditions like this before, but as you were scouting ahead, you noticed on the very, very horizon, whilst you were scouting, you will note that there is a meeting of the ways, an area of the Shire known as Waymeet. There is a village that you will be able to reach by nightfall, should your journey go well today. But that is all that you see. So, any other roles? We've done navigating, scouting, and we need a gathering check as well, correct?
Where did we start on the map?
Oh, I'm sorry. So it is just outside of Michel Delving, which is the very, very end of the West Farthing here. I say here.
Okay, so we started all the way on the far left side of the map.
Far left side of the map, yeah. And if you see the East Road, that is the road that you're currently on. Waymeet or Waymeet is the place that you'll be arriving next. And we'll need a gathering roll to see if there's anything.
Gathering roll wasn't great. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. It's 14. I imagine that Lolo's having a little bit of, you know, everything's covered with snow, and Lolo's muttering to herself while she's out there trying to forage.
Can't see any of the foliage in this damnable snow.
Oh, and she's trying to like push snow aside while she's foraging around.
It's a valiant effort from Lolo, but unfortunately, like you say, the snow is covering everything. It is incredibly hard to forage for supply of any kind. This is something that sadly will only get worse, you fear. But thankfully you didn't have to consume any of your supply this morning, so no harm, no foul just yet. Or we continue into the afternoon, and that is a time where you will be resting for a moment and you will be eating a supply. So I don't know if one of you want to be in charge of just saying when you've used something. That'd be really handy.
I got it.
I would find it very funny if you did eat double just to stay in character. But it's okay if not.
We find like a little nook or something to tuck ourselves away from the wind and get a little fire going. And like, it's so inefficient to be hobbits because every time we sit down to eat, it's not like we're getting out a little bit of cheese. It's like we're making a fire, cooking rashers, like the whole every time, right? So like a lunch break is like an hour minimum, probably.
And you'd be pleased to note that Floxana will pull from her pack cutlery and dishes enough for a picnic.
Great.
Perfect.
Nice. So between my dwarfish pots and the nice pots that you got, Lola, we've got like a whole kitchen worth of stuff. Probably have 2 fires going with different pans cooking different things.
Oh my god, I'm so inefficient.
You have a whole spread going, like there are winter birds that land in the trees and look down wondering what the fuck are they doing. Like everything else that would pass by is watching in curiosity as you enjoy a hearty lunch. And then we begin the second half of the day. So we've done navigation, so we don't do that anymore. We just need navigation and gathering and scouting. Is that right?
Just scouting and gathering. I think the navigator does it in the morning and then checks at night.
Checks at night. Perfect.
Yeah, to see if we did the right thing.
Perfect. So scouting and gathering then, please.
Gathering, the second leg of gathering actually goes way better. That's a dirty 20.
Ooh.
So what is it? So I imagine that while Lolo's out looking for looking for more roots and mushrooms and whatnot, she actually comes upon a couple of very cold, very scared conies and is able to bring those back.
Excellent. It is a remarkable prize, and it's probably, you're all probably delighted to see Lola return with these, for sure.
They could be fatter.
Well, we could all be fatter right now, sir, but this, what a find. The game's been so scarce lately.
It's a wonderful job. I haven't had to brace my girdle in a long time, not since the winter started. But now, who knows?
Floxana must have been distracted by the conies. This is 7 for scout.
Whether it is just the numbing nature of trudging through just a sea of continuous snow, you don't see anything looming ahead. Maybe it's because it's almost automatic to you, Floxana, walking across these roads. Nothing terrible befalls you as such, but you wouldn't have known if anything was threatening before you. And it isn't long before, from this point, that the dwindling light begins once again. You don't get much sunlight at this time of year. Already what sun there was is dipping beneath the horizon, but fortunately you are able to arrive in Waymeet. You have been told that you are expected in Waymeet, and you're actually given lodgings for the night, so you will not need to spend any more supply, as you are begrudgingly hosted by a rather annoyed Sancho Took. Floxana, you've probably only met this person once or twice at a family gathering, so it's probably a little awkward. He feels a bit set upon, but he's doing a favor for Belladonna. That's a good question. How many supply does? That's a question. Do we have a way of determining how much supply someone gathers from?
We usually rolled for it.
Yeah.
So it's sort of up to you how much you think. It's usually between a D4 and a D6.
Depending on how rough the conditions are, is a D4.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, we've already said it's conies, so I'm going to say we'll have a D6 then, a D6, and that's how much supply you will recover.
Ooh, okay, hold on. D6.
Yeah, give us a D6.
3.
Okay, yeah, so you add 3 to your supply roll. Thank you for reminding me of that. It's crucial that we are actually taking note of what we're gathering. Yeah, but you don't have to use any supply. You're, as I say, begrudgingly hosted by Sancho Took. He's kind of grumbling and growling about the fact that he's got to like make space for you all. You are given modest lodgings for the night. Sancho is clearly a little bit more frugal than other hobbits and hasn't put as much wood on the fire, so it's actually a little frosty. Not enough to badly affect your sleep, but still, it isn't the best. Dawn the next morning comes. Another navigation roll, please.
I should have checked that night to see the progress we made, I think.
Yeah, please.
Right?
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, please. Yes.
13, 17.
Yeah, well, okay, so you've made good progress. You seem to be on track another 3 days and you'll have arrived at the Brandywine Bridge.
8
Okay.
scout.
What for scouting, sorry?
8.
8. Again, you appear to be away with the fairies, Floxana. It's something that a lot of people blame Tooks for being a little absent-minded when it comes to keeping their focus on other things. So sadly, yeah, you're kind of oblivious, but nothing terrible befalls you other than the odd slip on the ice, perhaps. But yeah, nothing terrible. So that was which is navigation for the end of the evening. Have a separate one for the morning.
Yeah, I crit it. So, I mean, I guess I had a lot of time since we were inside to look over the maps and stuff and really plan a route that was efficient. Having been on the East Road for most of the day, maybe he realized that, you know, it's not actually shoveled and you can just go the way the crow flies and it might be quicker or whatever, right? Some sort of, but he's had a lot of time to look at it and think about it. So he feels pretty good about that.
Perfect. That's good. That's a really good roll. Fantastic. So let's see. That was navigation. We've had scouting, gathering check.
Lolo is actually bamboozled because we are getting very close, if not on the river at this point. And what is it? And vegetation and game are nowhere to be seen. She's scratching her head. I don't understand it. We're near the water. That was a 6 on my roll.
Oh, yeah. It's that harsh reality is dawning that it is so difficult to find things at the moment, even in places that you know well, if you know this area of the Shire particularly well or not. Yep, it's a sorry state as you look at your supply. Thankfully, you don't. I should have said you don't have to take supply off in the morning. You were given some by Sancho Took. But yeah, you will have to as the afternoon comes in. Which we will get to now. So another scout and gather check, please.
That is 17.
Perfect. Okay.
Couldn't possibly get any worse, right? Oh, it
Did you roll a
could.
natural one?
It could. It's a natty 1. So that's a 5.
Oh man. So while Lola is like having a crisis at this point, just looking around at this,
She kind of is.
yeah, for sure.
Sorry, I rolled a
You have-
2 in the last one, so.
Looking at these bleak surroundings, there is nothing on offer to you.
You have one job, Lolo. One job.
However, Floxana, in the distance, as you've been walking for some time today, you see a what you'd probably you'd know to be a fairly familiar sight. Perhaps you've not seen it in a year or two. A great stone rising from the crest of a sweeping hill. You know this to be the 3 Farthing stone. It is a point that is marked by the stone where the west, south, and east farthings meet. Fred, if you've been told this, you would disagree. There is another 3 farthing stone that includes the west, north, and east, and actually ignores the south. So you probably don't think this is the 3 farthing stone, but everyone else would consider this to be a fairly famous landmark of the Shire as you pass by this this particular location.
Oh yeah, 3 farthing stone right up there.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look so big with all this snow all around us.
We'll go dig it out and find out how big it is. Hey, Meta?
No.
There are 4 farthings.
Right, but this is where 3 of them meet.
Could have put it somewhere else where they all meet.
They don't all meet.
Could have moved the borders.
Not our fault the North wanted to be up so far.
Oh, we didn't want to be up there. It's just where we are.
Well, anyways, 3 farthing stone. That means we're, I'd say not quite halfway. Getting close to the river, though. Another day or 2.
We're making good time, I think.
Yeah, looks like your maps are useful.
I'm getting tired of the wind, but we're almost there.
Oh, those might be a stretch.
You actually know that as you are passing the 3 farthing stone, you know that the village or town of Bywater is not very far away at all. In fact, this is likely where you've planned to make your next stop. Hopefully there'll be somewhere with adequate shelter and hopefully somewhere where you won't have to eat into your supply. But as we come to the end of that journey, as you're approaching the Bywater, let's then do another navigation check to round off that day. Then I promise, Maridoc, we will do a vigil when you're actually.
Listen, this is actually working out really well for us, I think, by not having me roll anything.
Absolutely, all good.
The dice have chosen me today, Rob. I got another 18 on the die, so that's 22.
It's almost if the Hobbit had a military at this point, you would be like the Grand Marshal, like,
Grand
we're gonna be
Surveyor.
here at this time, and nothing's going to stop us. You are absolutely like regimented to the point. You're exactly where you need to be, and it's as you are sort of making this assessment, Maridoc, you absolutely spot something that you probably fills your heart with great warmth. You see, absolutely, the Green Dragon Inn. You see smoke rising into this this grey sky as the sun once again begins to set. However, you might have all seen this on your journey towards the West Farthing. Floxana, you might not have seen this yet. The Green Dragon Inn is very much being used as a place of sanctuary. There are a good number of hobbits that have sadly been made destitute and homeless by the fell winter. The Green Dragon is now acting as a kind of place of respite for them. There are many beds inside where as many hobbits as possible have done their best to accommodate themselves in this place. So as it is still serving as an inn, it's almost like a place of respite for those affected by the grim tidings. But if that's somewhere that you wish to go, that is absolutely up to you. You can spend the night there, or you can try your luck elsewhere.
Oh, the Green Dragon Inn. He kind of frowns. His moment of excitement kind of dwindles as he looks and he sees that, it's kind of not being used as an inn, maybe standing in the doorway of it. And he sees like all these little pallets and stuff where people are and their little Hobbit families are getting shelter from the fell winter. And he kind of turns around, looks at the others, and he goes, maybe they still have warm tea.
I should like to be within, where it's warm. This wind would knock a gamgee off a roast chicken, and I'm tired of being in it. But I don't know if we'll find a room in there. There's lots of people around here, though. I suppose we could ask if we could stay with them. We're on a mission of great import.
I haven't been here in some time. It was much jollier back then.
Yes, when last I was here, there was singing and a feeling of celebration. It's gone now.
Master Cotton is always telling me great stories about the Green Dragon Inn. He's never let me go with him before, of course, but I'm
You've never
game for
been?
going in. No.
You've never tasted the ale?
He kind of looks sheepishly. He goes, no.
Then we should go. We should try.
We
I know
should
it's an
give Mr.
important
Cotton a
mission.
talking to. It's just unnatural that a hobbit doesn't go to the Green Dragon.
Yes, I agree. He doesn't seem to treat you right, Mara.
No, Master Cotton, he's a good master. He treats me really well. I don't have any complaints. I just don't get out much is all.
And getting out is what it's all about.
I mean, I get out to the fields around Longbottom, but I've never really traveled. This is probably the most I've traveled my whole life. Because I'm giving this walking stick a good exercise. He doesn't know what to say.
Lola looks surprised.
This is really the farthest you've ever been from home?
Yeah, Master Cotton says it's not natural for hobbits to wander too far from home. It's not very hobbit-like, he always says. Says it to me all the time. Every day he says that. Maybe that's why he sent me to Belladonna's house. And you got to see this moment, like maybe this epiphany has hit Mara. Like that, maybe that's why Bill Cotton sent him to Belladonna's house. He goes, "You don't think?" No, Master Cotton would never do that.
You sort of are standing debating whether or not you're approaching the Green Dragon Inn. Lights of lanterns spring up in the windows. A fire is lit inside. It does look particularly inviting. If you want to approach, that is absolutely an option. Is that what you wanted to do?
I think Lola,
Yeah.
she's going for the door like eagerly because the prospect of a prepared hot drink is a very good prospect.
Absolutely. So as you approach, you are met with the sight of the familiar Green Dragon Inn. But like I say, lots of the great wooden benches and tables within have been pushed to the sides of the wall, and there appears to be sort of line upon lines of different patchwork quilts and covers and pillows to support hobbits that have been struck with ill luck at this time. As you enter inside, you are met with a familiar figure. Tom Sandyman is the current proprietor of the Green Dragon Inn. And you can see he's doing his best to support any who has asked for shelter and aid. He's bustling here and there. And as you walk in, he approaches and says, "Oh, hello there. I haven't seen you in a long time. What brings you this way?" And he's sort of saying that to each of you. Clearly, his eyes are darting to each of you. He's being a very busy hobbit currently.
Well, our business is our own. We have a lot to do and far to go. We're hoping we might find somewhere to rest for the night, have a bit of ale.
Well, we can do our best to find you a spot. No problem at all. If you'd like a bit of ale, if you'd just like to wait at one of these tables, and I'll bring something over to you imminently.
Very good of you. Thank you.
He goes away to get this ale. There is a short pause as he is collecting these things, but on his way back, and after setting ales at your table, he spots someone across the other side of the Green Dragon Inn, and it's almost like steam comes out of his ears. Suddenly he is overcome with anger as he marches from one side of the Green Dragon into the other, and he says, "Oh yeah, Longo Sackville Baggins, I've seen you loitering about. Have you snatched that long bottom leaf?" You look to the corner and you see Longo Sackville Baggins, rather I don't think sinister is the right word, but he has an ill-favored look, shall we say. This Longo appears to be loitering in the corner of the Green Dragon Inn, and he shouts back a response, and he says, "My da owns near half the leaf fields in the South Farthing. What would I want with your long bottom muck?" And they start arguing amongst themselves about whether this Sackville Baggins has stolen pipeweed from the needy of this place.
Fred will like raise an eyebrow and like begin to light his pipe, and he'll sort of like look at the others like, typical Sackville Baggins.
They're so loud and confrontative.
I don't think they own most of the South Farthing.
Sackville Baggins is only confrontative. They want to get something.
What does that mean? What do you mean?
Well, a Sackville Baggins might take something and not be confrontative, but then if they're gonna get something, they are confrontative. Do you understand? It's different.
Mara nods his head, but you could look on the look on his face. He has no idea. He still doesn't, but he's afraid to ask for any further. Yep.
Willow's wide-eyed, and she leans in conspiratorially, and she said,
Do you think it's true what he's saying? Do you think he took the... That's so shameful, taking things from people now in these times.
Yes, it's true. Have you ever met a Sackville Baggins?
I think Mara takes his little pouch of pipeweed, and you see him kind of tucking it inside of his vest. Well, I'm not going to take any chances. This is all the pipeweed you have, and we got what, like 3-4 more days on this journey.
To your mind, considerably longer. Probably this is just your journey out of the Shire.
I know. It's
That's fine. Just to make it clear. It's at this point I'd like you each to make a perception check, please, just to see something, or whether you see something rather.
12.
13, 12. Okay.
I was feeling pretty bad about the 13, but I guess that's
we're all
pretty good.
paying exactly the same amount of attention.
I rolled worse than my passive perception. I don't know if that matters.
I rolled well.
What's your passive then?
14.
Okay, that's fine.
Wait, how do you can you do passive? I forgot.
Perception plus
Just
10.
add your wisdom.
Yes,
Okay, my
you're right.
passive is 16.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Lola got that. I was misreading there. Okay then, Floxana. Out of the corner of your eye, as you maybe over the rim of your tankard, as you take a sip of ale, you see in a different corner of the room a rather suspicious-looking young hobbit. In fact, you know his name. You know this is young Tolman Brownlock, and he's a very young hobbit. He still hasn't grown fully. His legs dangle as he sits on one of these benches. And looks like he's very suspiciously stuffing something into one of his large pockets and sort of looking around shiftily.
Floxana, having done her own bit of thieving back in the day, of course, nothing recent, would recognize that guilty look anywhere. She'll set her cup down. Keys. She'll wander over and sit next to him. What you doing?
Pardon? He says, looking around, and he sort of like jumps, like he says it almost as like a reaction. Pardon?
What you doing?
He looks at his furry hobbit feet that swing beneath him. Nothing. What are you doing? Coming in here looking all suspicious.
Fred,
That's what I was gonna
like
say about
two
you.
tables away, like looks up and raises an eyebrow at the tone. Doesn't like it. So here we go.
She's like, see, that's what I was going to say about you. I mean, you've got to at least be a little more subtle.
He looks around and goes, if I give you a bit, will you not tell on me?
What do you want with long bottom leaf? You don't look half big enough to smoke it.
He gives like a long shrug and his shoulders and slump down. He looks at the floor and he looks actually quite upset for a moment. And then he says, me old da, you ain't had anything for a good couple of days now. Nothing to smoke. Barrels are empty. I thought this might make him happy.
Ah, you midwit. Take your da one pouch, not all of them. You think your da will be happy if you get caught thieving over here?
Legs continue to swing as he stares down, shrugs. No.
Uh-huh. Go home. Put it back.
He looks around and says, it was hard enough to get it the first time. Can you put it back for me?
Where'd you put it?
Just in the larder, behind the bar.
Fine. You got any stuffed in your pockets?
Yeah, so what he's taken is actually in his pockets. For it to be put back where it was, it would need to be returned to the larder, a place where it's dry and safe.
All right, take the stuff out of your pockets. It is your pockets, right?
Yeah, he pulls it out and he says, can I not keep one for me, old da?
One.
He nods and gets the rest out. It's actually like a sizable amount of pipe weed.
She's like watching it come out of his pocket, and she's like,
it's
"No?"
like, he's desperately. But it's actually like then bound. It's fairly bound in like one of those leather pouches you see them have, and yeah, he gives the rest to you. And he says, "Thank you, Floxana." Looks around and scarpers.
Who's the proprietor?
Tom Sandyman.
Sandyman. I was thinking it was Sam. I was like, no, it's not Sam. It's Sandyman. She'll like take this stuff and like scooch it to the end of the bench and drop it on the floor. Hey Tom, look what I found.
Tom looks around quizzically, like the Sackville Baggins is still like shouting at him, and he's obviously just ignoring him. He moves over and he looks and he goes, "Well, how did that get there then?"
Beats me.
See, I told you I didn't take it. The Sackville Baggins hisses from across the other side of the room. Well, and he looks very embarrassed. Well, I appreciate you bringing this to my attention, Belladonna Took. Very much appreciate it.
I think you could probably be forgiven. She like nudges her head towards the sackful baggins. We've all seen.
Well, all of this will keep a lot of hobbits going in this desperate time. Please accept some of this. And he takes a big scoop that will add to your supply, because I'm guessing your supply must also factor in.
Like it should has to.
So it will award you 6 supply if should you choose to take it.
She'll like look around and give back half. It's too much.
Fred is like, when she gives back half.
Pat on Fred's back. Pat.
He'll shake his head and he'll stand up and he'll go sit next to the Sackville Baggins because he's being disruptive and everyone's trying to have a nice time. So he's just going to try, by his presence, make him a bit quieter, you know? What's his name? Logo? Golo? Longo?
I'm having to look the back up. I say it and it just falls out of my head.
Yeah.
Longo Sackville Baggins. He is, fun fact, the father of Ortho, who then later is Lobelia. So yes, the generational annoying people. Yes.
Yeah, he'll sit next to Longo and he'll say, Longo, why don't you have a seat?
Well, I don't know why I should have a seat in this place. I was thinking about heading back south.
Oh, because I'm asking you, Longo. Why don't you have a seat?
He sits down. They're always pointing fingers.
Now, listen, no one's saying anything about you and your family. You might have a name. You know, these things happen. If you act a certain way, a lot of times, then things can happen. And people think you're going to act a certain way, even if you're not.
Tell you the truth. Times have been hard in our family. We don't like to show it, but yeah, it's been bad. We have a place in society here. It's important to us to keep that image up.
Well, you see, the issue is that some people think that, now I don't think this, but I've heard it said somewhere, that your family might be a little tight, a little greedy. Now, I didn't say this, and I didn't hear it, but I heard someone say that your old dad is as tight as a duck's bottom. And I think that's a terrible thing to say, but I've heard it said. And now, when you come in here and you act like this, and you're shouting at people and you're pointing fingers, you're doing yourself no favors.
What was your passive perception, did you say, Lloyd?
14.
You hear a rustle as he moves. But not of like the sound of pipe weed, if that has a sound.
Yeah.
Sounds
if there is a sound,
like,
then Fred would know it.
It's more, I'd say it's more the sound of something dry and kindling like that he's stuffed in his belongings. Not guilty of taking the pipe weed, guilty of taking something else.
Now, the thing is, Longo, that everyone's having hard times. It's not just your family. It's everyone. And Sandyman here is having a hard time. And he has to have enough stuff to go around for all these people who have to come here because they have nothing at home. Now, I've heard it said that you personally are as crooked as a dog's back leg. And I think that's a terrible thing to say. And I don't think it's true. I think that you have a good heart and that you're an honest hobbit. And you understand that here in the Shire, we all have to work together. We all have to muck in together to make sure that everyone has what they need. And so you'd never cause a big scene here or take anything that you hadn't paid for.
He looks at you and he kind of like clocks the fact that you've kind of like, you've clocked what he's got effectively. And he fixes you with a long, cold look for a moment, and then he says, "You're right. It's been difficult being shacked up with the rest of the family. My old man, he's you see like his fists clench. Times have been very hard, and he's been harder still. Are you going to tell him?" And he nods to Tom Sandyman, and you can see like his lip kind of quivering at the idea of being caught.
I think that this is a great opportunity for you to undergo what the elves call character growth.
Character growth?
A chance for you to see the crossroads that you're standing at and make a decision, change the outcome that might have happened. You're given a rare opportunity here to do the right thing after having done the wrong.
He nods and looks up and he says, "You're right. You're right." And he gets up and you watch as he crosses the green dragon in, and he pats Sandyman on the shoulder, and you can see he turns as if like he's ready for round 2 of the argument. But then you watch Longo sort of like bow his head and sort of like say something in a quiet voice, and they share a bit of back and forth for a moment, and then like you can see that there's like an accord struck between them. And good is done. Very good job. Very good job indeed. You're left.
Share a pipe full of his leaf with Longo in the hopes that like this act of generosity and kindness will like lead on to others, you know. He'll sit with him for a while and sort of keep handing out folksy wisdom and sort of like encouraging him to be better.
Perfect. Well done. I love that. Point of inspiration for that as well.
Thank you.
And for you as well, Taylor, I should say. Lolo, you are perhaps enjoying your drink in the Green Dragon Inn, and it's later in the evening now, and Tom Sandyman sits down, clearly breathless from busying back and forth between all these hobbits that need looking after, basically. And he says, "So what brings you over here, Lolo Brandybuck? Don't get me wrong. I'm not glad to see you, but it's a bit strange you being in this part of the Shire, what with what's going on and all."
Well, you know how it is. Just doing my best and traveling along with these fine fellows while chasing down game. It's getting scarcer and scarcer over in the west.
Aye, that'd be. But it looks like you're more kitted out for other things as well as chasing game, if you don't mind me noticing. And you can see he's kind of like, I wouldn't expect the 4 of you to be here doing just hunting game. Like, he's definitely fishing here.
Well, you know, in these times, I go where I'm needed, and these fine folk needed somebody to help with the gathering and the hunting, and they figured that I'd be good for the job, even though I haven't been very good for the job so far.
And she clearly looks uncomfortable, like she's trying to sink into the bench that she's sitting on while he's talking to her.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, he kind of fixes you with that look, and he doesn't press any further. You can obviously see that you're not saying everything, and he will say, "Well, Lolo, if there was anything that we here at the Green Dragon Inn could do for you or for your friends, then you need only ask. We've all got to help each other in this time."
We just appreciate the warm place to stay for the night and the ale in our bellies. And oh, it's I'm not sure if you knew or not, it's Master Merodach's first time here.
Is it really now? He'll look over at Merodach. Is it really now?
True enough.
Yes.
True enough, it is. Yep. You know, he's been kind of looking over at what Floxana was doing, and he's kind of caught a little off guard. Wasn't really paying attention to the conversation that Tom was having with Lolo. But oh, heard a lot about it. He goes, the ale's very good. And he's kind of got that little bit of that warm glow on him as his face is warmed up a bit from the cold and maybe a little bit from the alcohol in the ale. I guess Lolo would probably realize maybe Merodach doesn't consume ale too frequently. Well, or maybe this is maybe one of his first times having like a real cup of ale versus something that isn't watered down.
Well, then, if it's your first time and obviously you've got important things to be doing, he gives you a nod, Lolo. The least we could do here is make sure that you're provided for tonight. And like he gives one of his Hobbit friends a nod, who brings over 4 steaming bowls of broth for you each to enjoy, so you don't have to eat into your supply this evening.
I feel so in character because it is so cold up here in Maine right now.
I remember you saying.
So when you're talking about how cold it is, I'm like thinking to myself, yup.
It's cold. Method, my friend. You're able all to enjoy from henceforth a fairly pleasant evening, as a matter of fact. You're able to see hobbits that you probably haven't seen in a long time because of the season. You know, this is Bywater is very much a meeting place between all of the different farthings, and it isn't long before a hearty tune is struck up, and one of them goes, "Hey ho, to the bottle I go, to heal my heart and drown my woe. Rain may fall and wind may blow, but there still be many miles to go. Sweet is the sound of the pouring rain, and the stream that falls from hill to plain. Better than rain or rippling brook is a mug of beer inside this took." Another hobbit screams, and the laughter reaches peak as everyone's doing this and dancing on tables. And there's a real sort of like wartime kind of spirit, even in this trying time. The hobbits still come together and sing a hearty song. If there's anything else you wish to do in the Green Dragon Inn before you turn in for the night, now's the chance. Otherwise, we'll move on.
I think that, as you know, they're all laying down for the night. You know, it's quiet, and Merodach has this nice warm glow about him. He's just laying there. The first time he's felt really like good about this adventure. He says, "It was right nice what you did there, Miss Floxana. You know, those sackbill vagons, people always say bad things about them, but that was really nice what you did, showing that Tom that he didn't steal that pipe weed like he thought. That was right nice of you to do that. That really made me feel really proud to be well with you all. You're good hobbits."
Well, I suppose even Sackville Bagginses aren't bad all the time.
Yeah, and I guess there's a pause, and he goes, "Oh, I always got to think that there's always good in all hobbits. Is that silly?"
Not at all.
And I think hearing that from Fred, I think you can't see it, right? Because we're in this dark room all laying down, but this big grin spreads across his face when he hears that kind of affirmation from this grizzled old hobbit that he's really starting to really gravitate towards.
We're a special kind of creature, I think. We want what's best for everyone. We work together to see it done. And I think you're right to think that.
Yeah, and I think as you say that, oh,
It's like Fred's right. Hobbits are good folk by nature.
yeah, and I think when you say that, then you hear that.
So you're each able to settle down, and it's weird. It's like being at a slumber party, at a sleepover. You are sleeping in the pub. What better dream is there to have for a hobbit?
In my younger days, that would have been like the best dream ever.
It is the lock-ins of all lock-ins, and you're able to enjoy the company of the other hobbits and to enjoy a song and gradually once again drift off to sleep. I can't remember if we made the final navigation check of the day. We did, did we?
We did, and I think we did the one for the day after. No, that's what we stayed in the guy's house, so we didn't do it yet.
Okay, so the last navigation check of this day then, please, just so we know where we are at.
It is a 13 on the die, and I have +4 to my survival, so 17.
Yep, so I mean, it's all gone to plan so far, and
he knows where he is. And he's been here lots of times, I would say, you know. And so far, like, he has confidence currently, but he knows that it will be dangerous, and so he's starting to build a little confidence in himself. And he's taking it very seriously even now when it's not that serious, because he wants to get the practice in, get the reps in before we're out in the wild.
For sure. And I mean, that's what the last image that we probably see of the evening is perhaps Fred going over the maps once more. You see obviously that where you are by water, across the water, they call that particular river, is Hobbiton. And even in the darkening nights, we see twinkling lights from Hobbiton in the distance as we fade into the darkness of the night. The morning comes, and I'm afraid to say the weather has not improved. As a matter of fact, it's considerably worse. Snow has started to fall heavily today. It's all in the air. It's actually a struggle to push the door of the Green Dragon in open as you gather your supplies and your belongings and set off for your third day of travel. Let us begin with a navigation roll.
Oh no!
Oh no!
3. Maybe this is the time I use the map. I can do that once per day.
Yeah, once per day. You can use it as if you have expertise, so you're doubling your proficiency bonus.
Oh no, that won't help that much. So that'll turn it from a 7 into a 9.
Okay, that isn't very helpful. Should we say it's advantage?
No, I actually think, generally speaking, the expertise is better.
Yeah. Okay.
But now I want the advantage now because I rolled badly, you know.
It's easy to say, isn't it?
It's also more interesting, I think, that he fucks it, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Right. So, how do you think you fuck it, considering you've been planning so meticulously?
So
is it the weather?
Yes, I think it is. He had factored in there, because they had been traveling for 2 days and the weather had remained mostly similar. So he had factored in, like, okay, well, if the snow remains like it is, then we'll be able to take this route and turn this way and follow this road. And the snow should be manageable here. We'll be able to cross through this hedge and all this sort of stuff. And then today it's like an extra foot of snow, and he panics. He doesn't know what to do. And he is like scouring through the maps, and he's like, oh, but now that hedge won't be crossable. And he's like freaking out about that, basically, like how the route he planned is not going to work.
Just got to think that like a foot of fresh, soft snow would be such a big deal if you're a hobbit.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, that's like a third your height.
Yeah, right.
It's like
Huge.
almost waist high on you.
Yep. And it already was heavy snow. So yeah, it's a big deal. So I think he had a route sort of planned. He's a planner anyway by nature. And I think maybe most hobbits are. And he awakens to find the weather totally different and is not prepared for it. Very much muted.
Thank you. And it's almost as if that realization is accented by the cruel wind. It blows hard and rustles the map as you sort of like double check it to see. You know that you're approaching quite an important stage of the journey. You're going to have to at some point decide whether you're going to be continuing east or going southeast through the marsh towards where there are potentially suitable crossings for the river. At some point, you're going to have that discussion whether you're taking the bridge or potentially risking the ice. So it's not a great navigation check at the moment. Let's see as your journey begins then. If we have Scout, that was a 22 from Floxana. Really good roll. How do you think Floxana is adapting to the severity of the snow right now with that Scout roll?
So I think Floxana is adjusting what she's looking for. So she's been kind of looking for landmarks and things that would really stand out, but now she's checking for things that are moving the wrong way, or things that don't stand out big, they stand out small. You know, a drift that looks like it's been disturbed recently, even though there's fresh snow on top of it. Those sorts of things. She's trying to figure out what to look for when there's such bad weather.
Perfect. And you're able to sort of look ahead and see that on your current course as well, you'll be you're able to confirm with Fred that the Whip Furrows is probably likely the best settlement to arrive at by the end of the journey as well. So you're looking out for signs for that as well. Lolo, that is a fairly good foraging roll. So I would like you to roll me a d4 first of all and tell me what you find, if you can think of anything that you find in the snowy landscape.
Okay, so the D4 is a 3.
Perfect.
And what is it? And I want to think that there is just too much damn snow on the ground to find anything down there. But while she's hunting around trying to find something, she notices that there's a couple of grouse, like that for some reason have just stuck around, and she's not questioning why they haven't fled to warmer areas, and she doesn't care. So she's she catches those and then brings them back, pleased as a punch once again, like
I wouldn't have expected to find anything so good in all this snow, but here we are.
You are either the luckiest or the most skillful hunter that I've ever seen, Lolo.
I think it's luck. I'm very skilled, but there is a lot of luck going on.
It could be fatter.
Well, maybe tomorrow you can try and find some.
I think that he nods his head to that, hoping that Fred forgets.
I think it was a great job, Lolo. Well done.
How many supply, Rob?
Oh, you got a 3, right, on that D4, Lolo? 3. Very good. It's funny you bring up Lolo. Luck, it's almost a tangible thing for hobbits. It's almost like a belief structure for them. The idea of luck smiling upon you, and it certainly does. Thankfully, you're able to fill your supply a little more as you continue on your journey. You are... we've done Navigator, Scout. Okay, so afternoon arrives. And it's time for lunch. You didn't have to pay for breakfast, but you're going to have to pay for lunch, I'm afraid. So that's a supply each. Perhaps you tuck into some leftovers that you receive from the Green Dragon Inn or something. And then we're going to need a scout roll and another foraging roll, supply roll.
Let's see who wins this one, Tamiko. It's not going to be me. 8.
Oh no. Yeah.
I rolled a 2.
It's, I mean, what is it? The dice, it's feast or famine, which is very ironic given my job.
It's this brutal weather. It's clearly showing signs of affecting you. Floxana, those points of that you've been moving to and from, guiding the rest of the company, are becoming harder and harder to spot and make head nor tail of. You're worried if you stop, you might get turned around, but if you keep going, then it's going to add to the confusion. And that snow coming down means you just can't see anything. You can barely see your hands in front of your face at this point. And it's at this point I would like you all to do a perception check, please.
Can I use my passive?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I don't really know.
I rolled a 10, but my passive is 16.
I guess the passive is for just when if you notice something without like actively looking. Is that what it is?
Perception is you're actively looking for a thing.
Okay, if you're yeah.
I mean, it's not super clear. It can be either, I think.
Very unclear, in fact.
I will say yes, because it's something that you wouldn't necessarily be looking for, particularly when you're more concentrated with the blizzard. So please set your passive if it's lower, that's fine. So what was your passive, sorry, Floxana?
16.
16.
But wow, looks like Fred got 22.
Yeah,
he's trying to make up for his bad navigation. And so he's really concentrating and he's like keeping his eye out.
Each of you think you can almost hear the crackle of thunder, almost that nasty effect that when this terrible snow then joined with a crack of thunder rolling in the roiling clouds above. There is also a fearful howling in the wind. It sounds like a blizzard to some, but to Fred, who has already heard this sound once before, the familiar howling, ear-curdling, sky-splitting shriek of something in the distance. Almost like a whisper.
To me! He'll shout over the blizzard, because I imagine we're walking like some distance apart. And he's like holding his hat like on his head in the blizzard and like looking around for the rest of them. And he'll keep shouting until they're all like close enough.
What's wrong, Fred?
I heard a howling on the wind.
Are you sure it wasn't the wind?
More sure than ever have been of anything in my life. I've heard it before. We should stick closer together. There could be wolves. Or something darker still. And he carries what to a man would be like a maybe a long knife, to him is a sword. It was once a sword that his great grandfather got when he helped the Bree men fight in a war a long time ago, and that sword became what they used to like strop and like cut leather, and was used for so many centuries that it's been like sharpened and stropped and worn down to the point where now it's really just like a long knife. And he'll like rattle that in its scabbard to make sure it's not frozen. It is frozen. He has to like warm it for a time so he can like loosen it in the scabbard, just in case. He'll say to the others as well, ready your weapons just in case. I think they were far off, but we don't know.
It's hard to do because it's so cold and and so dexterous acuity isn't that great with the numb sausage fingers, but Lolo's nods resolutely at you, and she and she takes out her bow and starts to string it.
Luxana looks at the bow and considers her own quiver of arrows, and instead will mimic Fred in a smaller fashion with two small knives, making sure they can come out of their little tiny sheaths.
Yeah, I think Mara does the same thing. He's got this little, it would be a dagger to like a man of Bree, but to Mara, it's a short sword. It was given to him by Tom with no explanation. And I don't think he's touched it really since leaving. And he's not really sure what Fred is doing when he kind of like tugs at the hilt, pulls it out a little bit, but he kind of does the same thing, and he's kind of like and he pulls it out till it breaks free, a little bit of frost on it. And then he would look at Lolo. Lolo, it might be a bit windy for that bow. Do you have a knife or a club or an axe or something?
Of course, any hunter worth their salt always has a blade with them.
And she pats the hunting knife at her side.
But if Fred is right, and it's a wolf or many wolves, I'm not sure what good my little blade will do.
The four of you stand there, specks in your white fur cloaks, in an ocean of white. Snow howling around you, twisting about you as if you were standing in the eye of a hurricane. And then you each see it. A shadow in that white, moving closer and closer, steadily approaching. But then as it gets closer, you see that this is no beast, but a hobbit, charging its way towards you. As it gets closer, one of you may recognize this as Heather Brockhouse, a hobbit that lives in these paths, and she's screaming, though you cannot hear it at the top of her lungs, though the sound of the blizzard around you just dampens it out. She is waving her hands and looks entirely panic-stricken. She almost collides with the four of you as she dashes towards you, and all she can manage at first when she stops in front of you panting is, please, please, you have to help. You have to come with me. You have to help my children.
Of course we'll help. Quickly, bring us.
She basically is seizing you, each of you, and sort of trying to drag you down the road she's just come from. As she's running, she's saying, my children, the roof of the kitchen, it has collapsed inwards. I can't reach them. They're not making any noise. I don't know if they're well or not. Please. You rush to the outskirts of the Whip Furrows. Now, the Hobbit Holes here are rather more secluded than an actual close together village. It's like cottages here and there, but Hobbit Holes. She drags you to the entranceway of this Hobbit Hole, but you can already see from the hill above it has just collapsed inwards. She drags you into the entranceway of this hobbit hole, and she points through one of the tunnels to where you imagine the kitchen must be. All of the fires, all of the candles have been snuffed out as the storm is like basically just pushing more snow into the hobbit hole. It's at this point that I'm going to ask each of you to roll initiative for a skill challenge. And actually, I think that'll probably be a good place for us to take a break as well. So roll your initiative and we'll come back to that in a moment. You can just hear this overwhelming groaning sound of rafters and support beams struggling under the bearing weight of the snow above. You have a set amount of times to get successes and fails. Should you get too many fails, that's going to come down. We start with Fred. What skill are you using? What do you do?
Okay, Fred is going to rush in and start trying to pull debris away as quickly as he can. And I think I'll do that with an athletics. That's all right. Rush forward and start just pulling and trying to make a gap big enough for a smaller hobbit to squish through.
Perfect. So athletics.
Here we go. 17 on the die. So 20 altogether.
Okay, yeah. So you're able to brace and push and heave, taking on the weight. But,
yeah, maybe he grabs Mara's walking stick and uses it to like leverage some of the bigger pieces. And yeah.
Very good. Yeah. So you're able to sort of brace it, but not too swiftly as it'll potentially come crashing down. Floxana, what do you do?
Floxana is going to be looking for the best way in, and to use perception to be watching while Fred is doing this for the darting of in once he's got a gap big enough.
Oh, perfect. Good idea.
14? I don't know if that's enough.
No, it's not. I'm afraid you desperately try and squeeze your way in, but then there is a tumble of ice and debris that crashes down in front of you, and you're thrown back from your attempt. Unfortunately, Floxana. Lolo.
I feel like when we initially ran in and and the entire hobbit hole was creaking and groaning, Lolo's first instinct is we have to get some of the weight of the snow off of the hobbit hole. So I feel like she would have dropped her pack and grabbed the copper kettle out of the netting that's on the side of the pack, and she's going to go up and start trying to like scoop and throw some of the snow off of the areas where it looks particularly deep. Would you like a survival or an athletics?
Whichever.
Either one's fine.
So I think per round, only one of us can use one skill each. So that's going to have to be a survival because Fred already used athletics. I should have explained that. But I love the description. Give it a survival roll.
That's a 15.
That is a success. What is it like as you are heaving this snow from the sinking more of this collapsing thing?
Very cold. Not only is it very, very cold and Lolo's hands are starting to go numb because like there's such an abundance of snow that she's trying to clear off, but also the copper is like conductive, so it feels even colder, but she's doing her best to try to clear as much off as she can.
That's amazing. Your breath is vaporizing in front of you in the effort of the task, but you're doing well. Mara.
All right. I'm going to make the roll first so that I don't do like some people do. They describe it and they tank their roll. So I got 14. I do it too. I don't want to make it seem like I don't do it, but I so many times have to like say, and then I fall on my face. So I got a 14 on the die. So that's a 16 persuasion.
Oh,
so
okay.
this is what, yes. So this is what Meriadoc is thinking. He thinks back to when he was a much, much younger hobbit. He was out in the woods, out on the field, these little copse of trees, nothing really major or anything like that. But he and his sister got lost and he started to panic. And he remembers his sister, who was a few years older than him, calming him down and until they were able to have some, one of their parents found them. And so he does the same thing. So he hunkers down next to where Fred is kind of working, and he goes, hey, little hobbits, you're going to be okay. Fred's a really big, strong hobbit, and he's working on doing this. And I think my friend Lolo is out there moving snow. I'm not really sure what. Well, anyways, you'll be fine, but you just have to relax, okay? Just let me know that you can hear me. So that's what he says. He's just trying to calm these hobbits down as Fred's doing what he needs to do so that hopefully either he or Lolo or Floxana can wiggle their way in there and save these little hobbits.
That's absolutely fantastic. And as you're sort of looking through the gap that perhaps Fred has started to make, you can see the wide, frightened eyes of two very young Hobbit children, Dimble and Doris Brownlock. But thanks to your instruction, you were able to sort of keep them calm to prevent any further damage from happening from their end. Perhaps, who knows? I've named them, so if they
Did you
die.
say Dimble?
Dimble and Doris.
Don't name them. What are you doing?
There was something called Bungo earlier. Did you know?
Yeah. I love it. Like, they're all so stupid names. I love it.
Hobbits have ridiculous names.
They do. They're wonderful. So we're back to the top, and more flecks of snow and ice, and the wind howling from the open door is echoing around you. Fred, what do you do next?
Okay. What did you succeed on, Tyler? Did you succeed? No. What did you try?
I tried perception.
Perception. Okay. Let's see. I think maybe I will attempt. Pretty low on good skills. Okay. Could I use acrobatics to try and squeeze myself through a small space and get towards them? Yeah?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, let's do it.
Why are you squeezing through a small space? That's a terrible idea.
Because the kids are dying. 12 plus 3, so 15.
Is a success. Thankfully, your buttons don't pop from your waistcoat as you squeeze through.
Yeah, maybe he pulls off the like the cloak, and then the second cloak, and then like the armor he has underneath it, all that sort of stuff, pulling it off, and then he manages to squeeze through.
That's excellent. So yeah, you squeeze in, and the two young hobbits sort of like back away from the entrance to the kitchen as you are trying to press your way into that gap. Fantastic work, Phlox.
So Phlox is watching again. She's trying now that Fred is wiggling his way in. She wasn't sure the gap was big enough for her, but apparently it would have been. She'd been looking at it from a different angle. That's going to be a 24 perception to see when she needs to like tug on Fred and like help him get out and pull the kids out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. Did you make the roll, or did I miss that?
I thought it was a 24.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, absolutely. You did succeed. Absolutely. So what is it like as you're able to perceive the advantage in the situation?
So she's been staring at this kind of cave-in, and she was watching Fred leverage things. And I think now she understands where the leverage needs to be put, so that when Fred's ready to start backing out and pulling the kids with him, we can facilitate that.
Gotcha. That's awesome. And as Phlox is doing that, Lolo, it's your turn.
Yeah, so what is it? So she's up there and she's still like shoveling. And I think the cold might it might be too much at this point. I rolled an 11.
Oh no.
Come on, better than 10, right, Rob?
It is better than 10. I love it. Unfortunately, as you're desperately trying to like heave more snow out, it's almost like you're watching like a sand timer go down almost. You're watching more and more of this snow sort of like collapsing and vanishing into some unseen depths as you're struggling above the Hobbit hole, but a valiant attempt. Mara. I don't like that smile.
I don't like my roll. I think there's like a shifting.
Hold your roses.
What?
Can I give Lionel my inspiration?
You can give Lionel your inspiration, sure.
Lionel, you have my inspiration.
I will gladly take it. All right. Oh my God, Taylor. I went from a 1 to a 16 on the dice. Yes.
What does Phlox shout to give you that encouragement? Phlox, what do you shout to do it?
You start to see Mara starting to panic, like he's starting to calm these kids down, and all of a sudden there's a shifting of the beams, and snow starts to drift down, and he's like, "Oh no!"
Phlox will shout like, "Fred's almost there. Get ready to move."
Yeah. All right. Okay. And he's going to use, if you allow it, and I'll describe how I'm going to do. So I'm going to use sleight of hand. But what I do is I look and I see there's a bit of Floxana's gear that is hanging out. So he reaches over and he goes, clip. He maybe unclips one of her knives that is kind of hung up, and he kind of tosses it aside. And then he kind of grabs her ankles. He goes, "You just let me know when to tug."
That's excellent. Great work. Fantastic work. Yeah, you're all united in this common effort to stop this disaster at whatever the cost. This is the final push. Fred, what do you do?
Okay. What do I do? Good question. What other skills do I have left? Because we've used a lot. Have we used stealth?
Yeah. What all have we succeeded on? So
Okay.
I know I succeeded on perception.
So maybe I'll use stealth to find the least obtrusive way to get through the gap and get the kids out.
Very good. And you have a bonus to stealth, I believe, yes, for hobbits.
I do.
Yep.
I do not take all my good skills.
It is 16.
Very good. How are you successful?
Yeah, he's naturally inclined towards this sort of squeezing through tight places, getting into places he's not supposed to be. And so he is able to like move and wriggle in a way that he's able to like get his hand through. And he says, "Come on now, take my hand. We'll get you out of here. We're almost there." And when he's like found that little gap, there's like a little crawl space that he hadn't considered, and he'll like duck down and he can like see maybe inside, and he'll like reach for them, and they should be able to squeeze through easier than he did.
Yeah, they start squeezing through. We've got to get to the end of the round, however. So Phlox, what do you do?
God, what's left? Lionel, what did you use earlier? You used persuasion.
Yeah, I use persuasion and sleight of hand.
Cool. I'm gonna try. No, it doesn't matter. That's fail. That's a 2 on the die.
Have my inspiration.
What do you say to give that inspiration?
We're almost there. I got their hands.
Okay, that's much better. I'm gonna use investigation. That'll give me a 15.
is a success. That is the final success required.
I
is
rolled
it
a
like?
3 on the first one, Lloyd.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
What is it like as you're able to aid in the last push before the rest of it comes crashing down, but you're able to pull free of the disaster?
Flox's deal this whole time has been watching and seeing, and so she's now on kind of like her hands and knees. She thought maybe Meriadoc like grab her ankle or something, but she can't be bothered by that. And then she starts to see like this little tiny hobbit hand, and so she like grabs and just yanks.
Amazing. The snow and the ice and the debris settles, and all that can be heard is the heavy panting of the four of you and the kids, and Heather Brownlock, who is also doing her bit to keep the structure from collapsing. And eventually, you hear her voice pipe up and say, "Thank you so much." And she bundles her Hobbit kids to her. And she will say, it would help if I didn't have pictures of curry puffs on my page, because that's what I was looking at in the break. She says, oh, thank you so much. My husband, Hoopy, he went south to get supplies and tools. I don't know what we would have done if you weren't here.
Well, we were here, and all's fine now. You'll need to have neighbors. Can you go to your neighbors?
Yes, I have cousins down the way. They had offered us a place to stay whilst he was abroad, but we had declined. But now I think we'll be taking them up on that offer.
We'll carry the kids.
Thank you. But please, before you go, and she reaches into what is left of their supplies, devastated as it is, and hands you some dried provisions that will give you a D6 of supply. If you would like to roll that, Lolo. Hopefully it's generous.
The dice don't like me today.
It makes sense. Everybody's hungry.
What was the total?
2.
2. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's all good. I missed it. Yeah, so if someone wants to add 2 to your total. Yeah, she just hands you what she can spare, effectively. Difficult times and all that. So yeah, you're able to deliver them down the way for a little while. You are met with joy and happiness, and the fact that you were there at just the right time. Very lucky that you had got there at that time. And the rest of the Brownlocks are happy for you to stay with them for the night. You had effectively come to the end of your journey for that day anyway. So if you'd like to make the final navigation check of the day, please, Fred. I promise, Meriadoc, eventually you will get a vigil roll.
That's what I'm afraid of.
15 for this one.
Okay. Yeah, so
I see that I've not made as much progress as we wish, right?
Maybe not, but still enough for you to tell that the following day you've got about 10 miles to the Brandywine Bridge, or you could head into the Marish for a further 25 miles to be closer to where the Buckleberry Ferry is. And that is something you will have to discuss this evening, probably, is which way you're going to go. What do you risk?
Another fail on a scouting roll for me.
Oh yeah, I suppose it's the end. Well, you probably wouldn't have needed that. We're just doing the end, the last navigation roll, because the Brownlocks have had you stay with their relatives who live just down the way. But that's cool.
So Fred would say we have 2 options. We can try and cross the bridge. We could try and take the ferry. I suppose we could try and cross the ice. And now Lady Took had said that maybe the bridge is watched.
Watched by who?
I don't know. Or by what?
Hmm.
It seems to me like a bridge is the safer thing to do. I mean, doesn't ice break?
It can, but if it's frozen solidly, we're not so big.
But if it's not frozen solidly and you've slipped through, that's not a situation I would like to find myself in.
No. Me either. Maybe the ferry. We could try and get to the ferry and see what it's like there. And if it doesn't feel safe, we can try and cross the ice.
Yeah. I mean, if you think that's the best thing we can do, Fred, I mean, you've seen more of the Shire than any of us. Seen more winters too.
Yes, but I'm asking you what you think.
Well, he kind of looks down, like at his hands, and he's like, "I'd rather go for the bridge, if we're being honest."
Where are we now, Rob? Whitfurrows?
Yeah, so you're in the Whitfurrows.
So, and we're trying to cross somewhere.
Yeah. You've been warned. I mean, it's fair. I mean, you don't necessarily have to cross where the Buckleberry ferry is. It being frozen, you imagine the ferry probably isn't much good, but it's just an example of where you could cross. You were warned not to cross north of the Brandywine or north of anywhere, in fact, because that particular area there is pretty bleak and open to the treacherous weather and open to anyone or anything out there. Your hope is to rely upon the cover of the old forest when you cross this river effectively.
And what's our overall goal? Where are we trying to get to?
So you've been, let me just bring it back up just so I can read it properly.
I think we're going to the old forest.
Yeah, you're traveling through the old forest and out the other side, and once you reach the other side, you are then to search for the rangers, basically.
Okay, okay.
It was a long exposition, but yeah, effectively she was like, go and look for the Bigfoot and treat with them for supplies and help. And also, if you can bring people back with you to help
manage the place.
That'd be great. Because they are undefended.
Come out of the old forest, then go to Bree, I guess. And go from there. See if we can find I think Old Forest makes sense. It'll be less windy and miserable, but maybe it's full of wolves. I don't know.
What do we know of the Old Forest, Rob?
Good question.
Like what? Like, is that a lore?
Absolutely, it's a lore. A brandy buck would get advantage on the Old Forest.
I don't know anything about the Old Forest. Brandy buck?
Lore? You said?
Yeah, lore, or whatever.
Add advantage, huh? Okay.
Yeah, because of the brandy buck's relationship with the Old Forest in particular.
Yeah, my lore ain't great. So that's an 8 with advantage.
Oh, yeah, not great. You know that it's an enchanted forest and lots of stories are said about it. What those stories are, you can't recall. Anyone else can make a roll. It should be fairly not unlikely that any other Hobbit would know it. So if you want to give it a roll, Lloyd.
15 minus 1, so 14.
Okay. Yeah, you know that there are stories about the Old Forest that the trees in particular have apparently lives of their own. They can allegedly come alive and talk to each other even move. But you don't know whether that's true. You don't know whether that's just the mindless ramblings of paranoid brandybucks who have stared over the high hay, as they call it, the hedge, the great border that the hobbits made between themselves and the forest. So yeah, you know that, but you also know that it would provide you ample shelter from the elements and people watching over the landscape, as it were. Don't have to go that way. It's up to you.
I think it probably makes sense to go down to the ferry and see what it's like there. And then if it's functioning, great. And if not, then we can find that probably is the shortest or the tightest part of the river. That's why they built the ferry there. So if it is frozen, we can probably try and cross there. It'll be the least wide part of the river. I guess I'm just concerned that the bridge is like swarming with orcs or something, you know?
With orcs.
If there was
Right.
one orc there, we're all dead, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I would also vote ice just because, like, if there's a real concern that the bridge is, I don't know, the only way across, then if there's anyone waiting for hobbits as an easy snack, that's
And somebody at the ferry might know something, like if, you know, because we have to pass through a town, it looks like, or a little village stock, and then down to the ferry itself. So there'll be hobbits there and they might know something.
the Brandywine Ferry,
Yeah, the
Buckleberry.
Ferry, yeah.
Huckleberry Ferry.
Huckleberry Ferry.
That's the name of it. Floxana, as you were absent when we were making this roll, I will ask it of you as well. There was a brief discussion about the nature of the old forest. So if you'd like to make a lore check, you don't have to, but it's an option there if you wish.
Yeah, lore. Let's see. I don't think I know anything. It's like an 8.
That number's going around lately.
Oh.
Yeah, it's no. Other than you just heard that it's apparently it's an enchanted forest and strange and peculiar things are thought to have happened there. But other than that, you don't know any details really. Okay, well, that is a definite course of action. If you want to head to the village of Stock through the Marish towards the Buckleberry Ferry, then that, yeah, it's up to you.
I think so. I think it gives us the most options. The bridge is the obvious place for big things to go. And so I think we want to avoid that if we can.
And hey, with all this cold weather, the marsh probably isn't very marshy.
Could be crunchy.
Very, very icy. Yeah, I was gonna say it could be real stiff.
Okay. We started that discussion from the navigation check that Fred made from the end of that day then. So you're awake bright and early, you are offered breakfast, so you don't need to eat into your supply. And we will begin with the navigation roll, the supply roll, and the scout roll, please.
I'll use my fancy map to expertise this before.
Perfect. Yeah. And if you want to switch those rolls up, by all means, but it's up to you.
Survival is going to be +6, so 21 on the navigation.
Perfect.
And I think his plan is to not follow the road and instead go from Whitfurrows to Stock, just straight across, like cut across the fields, because the snow makes the road sort of useless anyway.
I like that.
It's deep snow everywhere, so he'll just take the most direct route possible. So we'll sort of almost pass by the Yale, whatever that is, and then head to Stock.
Yeah, perfect. So you're heading across the country. What did you get?
Yeah.
Going across the country with it's deep snow everywhere, but the terrain is uneven, and Floxana is preoccupied trying to keep her head over the snow. That is 7 scouting.
Oh, yeah. Once again, the Took's away with the fairies. They often jibe and joke, and it's the case today. No, it's obviously incredibly difficult. The weather has not improved. As a matter of fact, it's arguably got worse. The snow is rising higher and higher. It makes visibility incredibly difficult. So unfortunately, yeah, not the best. But nothing seems to come at you in the snow, so hopefully it's okay. And how are we for supply today, Lolo?
Lolo actually had a very, very good run of it. I'm guessing that maybe it's because the area that we're walking through is generally less populated, maybe. So what is it? So there is what is it? I think probably partway through she might have come upon some tracks in the snow and luckily followed them to a burrow or something where she was able to uncover either some more conies or some other type of tasty burrowing animal that I can't think of at some point. That's a 15.
Okay, so yeah, you were able to get a tasty burrowing animal. So an arrow, yeah, you find a really edible arrow. Can you roll a d4 for me, please? And that'll determine how much supply you get from this animal.
Oh, come on. That's one.
Comes with the toothpicks and everything. It's great.
Yay.
You get a single tasty morsel to add to the supply.
Be fatter.
Very good. You press on, and in fact it won't take you the full journey to get to stock, so you'll probably get to stock in the afternoon, so you can choose to eat some supply and go in, or try your luck and see if you can get hold of some lunch there from a kindly neighbor perhaps.
So we're doing well on supply currently, but we haven't been tested, and I think we have to eat 3 times a day. Right? And so if we suddenly are not in the vicinity of hobbits, we're eating 12 food a day. And we're only getting like 1 or 2 usually a day. And that's, it's winter, so it's going to happen. So I think if we can squirm some food out of people, we need to be doing that all the time. Because it looks like we have a lot, but it'll go real fast.
Yeah, it's dawning on you that once you leave the Shire, that is going to be a big problem. Yeah, so you get as much as you can now. Very good. Yeah, so you can go to stock. I mean, there are hobbits about. Is there any? Would you announce your business to see if you can wangle food, or would you just ask politely? What would you do?
Fred would sort of rely on hospitality, and if that doesn't work, then he might name drop the Lady Took and see if that does anything.
Okay, yeah, that's a great idea.
And he'll probably push Mara to do the convincing. He'll come in and sort of like assume that they're going to get fed, which I think would be a safe assumption anytime that isn't this miserable winter. But if that doesn't happen, then whatever, he'll sort of maybe he's been talking with Mara on the walk this morning. Like, you might not think it, but you have a way with people. You can be quite charming in a strange sort of way. And then when we get there, he'll be like elbowing Mara to be like, this is your time.
I think it's a clearing of his throat. Yeah. And he goes up to one of these hobbit doors, tap, 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 with his walking stick. Kind of looks back at the group, kind of gives them one of those, I got this kind of moments. He sees a thumbs up from Floxana. He's kind of like puffs up his chest, turns back to the door.
For a moment, you hear like scuffling and like speaking behind the door in like hush whispers. Who could be calling this out? I don't understand. Who could possibly? We weren't expecting anyone. And then there is like a small door in the Hobbit door opens about this high, just so you can see the eyes.
I think he's surprised by that. He's like waiting for the door to open, but he's like, oh, hello. Hello, I'm Meradoc, Hornblower, and these are my friends. And that is Lolo. That right there is Floxana, and that is the mighty warrior, Fred. And we are traveling eastward on the behest of Belladonna Took. I don't know if you have heard of her, but we are on a mission of mercy, he says, and he really stresses that. He goes, and fine hobbits like yourself, I wonder if we might share a moment of with your fire and maybe a meal and a tale or two.
The eyes narrow, looking through the hole in the door, and then they suddenly, like, literally cotton on to who you are. Cotton being the operative word. Maradoc?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
It's Benji Cotton. Well, why didn't you say? I'm Benji Cotton. Come in. Why didn't you say?
He turns and he does one of these things to the others.
Knocking on the door like some stranger in the night. You should have just walked in.
I had no idea you were even here.
No, we moved. We moved part two seasons ago. We moved. We used to be down by the river a bit more.
And I thought you were just avoiding me as he's walked across the threshold.
Well, I thought we were taken off for your Christmas card list 2 seasons back. And there's sort of like gabble continues. You're all invited in, and you're looked after, and you're given some lunch before you are sent on your way again. But he does ask a few questions about your master, because you are a manservant or a hobbit servant to someone else, aren't you? Another Cotton.
Yeah. So he would like with a sense of pride now. He has a much different than when this journey started. He says the pride. Yes, Tom. Now I don't know if Tom. I'll say it's his uncle. Your uncle Tom. He sent me on this mission. He of course had business to deal with in Longbottom, so he trusted me enough to send me along with these other fine. He just kind of plays that off.
Amazing. You're able to sort of play off the matter, unless you want to make it clear why you're here. But if you want to keep your reasons for being in this neck of the woods, I don't think Maradoc would be like a gabber. He's like I said, he's a very young, naive hobbit. So like he said, he trusts all hobbits. So yeah, he would definitely share. He's like, oh yeah, we're on this mission and we have to go and find these bigs, these rangers.
There's a lot of trouble at the moment. Fred will like cut in when he starts saying too much in the Shire. As you know, there's a lot of scarcity, and a lot of hobbits have had to move to the Green Dragon, sticking together as best they can. We had to rescue I've forgotten their name, but Fred wouldn't. The
Brownlocks, yeah.
Brownlocks. The Brownlock home caved in, and we had to save their children from the kitchen, which had collapsed. And so there was hardship all around, and we're trying to make our way towards Bree in the hopes that we might be able to get some assistance from the men there.
With the mention of you with Maradoc's mission that he's describing it as to help the Shire, and also at the mention of you helping the Brownlocks, that triggers a positive reaction as well. It seems whenever you do good things are rewarded back to you from whoever hears about it. It's sort of their way. So you are given supply with well wishes from Benji Cotton. Lolo, would you like to roll a d6 of supply, please, to see what they can spare for you?
Way I've been rolling? Not really, but okay.
We'll see.
Okay, that's a 4. That's not bad.
Perfect. So if you'd
That's
like
huge.
to add, yeah, that's great. And don't forget
The whole last meal.
Did we add that other 2 as well? That's in the chat. I've just seen there's a 2.
Oh yeah, Tay. When you were AFK, we got 2.
I added it.
Oh,
Okay,
perfect.
Yeah,
There we
did.
are then. Thank you.
It went on day 3.
Oh, excellent. Perfect. Okay. Yeah. So you are then given a lunch, so you don't have to spend supply this afternoon, and you can now make your journey checks to see what you may encounter on your journey to Buckleberry Ferry. So we've done navigation for the day. We'll have another gatherer and another scout, please.
Scout, you got to roll.
I don't think adding, what is it? I don't think like doing the
25.
expertise thing
Oh,
help.
shit.
Rolled a 19 on the die. I see.
Very good.
I'm assuming that an 11 sucks just as bad as a 13 would suck.
You're actually a bit full from the amount that you were given for lunch. Like, they were very generous after your story. So you're being a bit sluggish. You're like, I really have to, like, you're just like, you know, you just don't have quite the right energy level to go into looking for berries and things. So you unfortunately aren't able to find anything. But a 25, was it, Flux? My God. That will reward you a perception check with advantage.
$19.
You are
20.
20.
Yeah, 30,
You
20.
are gradually approaching the position of Buckleberry Ferry, as Fred has marked it on your map and on your route. And like I've been mentioning before, the snow has just been continuous this whole time. But as you are sort of approaching the river, you note that the land kind of goes into sort of like a steep incline at this point, winding past to lead down to the riverbeds and the river bays, sorry. You see before you the telltale pier almost of the Buckleberry Ferry. It is entrenched in ice. In fact, the ferry boat itself, a very simple pallet ferry with a number of banisters along the side, it's kind of just drawn over by a rope on a wheel. And you see that all fine. You also happen to see a vast black shape move past where the ferry is, just for an instant, just for a moment, just a flick of some darkness.
Stop. There's something down there.
What's something?
I don't know. It is big and dark. Not a hobbit. I don't think we should go down there. It gives me a bad feeling.
We have to.
No, we don't.
We have to
Go back
cross
for the
somewhere.
bridge. We can go back for the bridge.
We have no guarantee it will be safe there. We'll lose a whole day of travel.
I don't know, but there's something down
If we're going to try to cross on the ice, if it's solid enough, I don't think there's any reason we'd have to go all the way down to the ferry dock. Just as wide here as it is there.
there. I don't
You
know.
And if you saw something that's bigger than us, that means that it's probably an animal. Could be a wolf, could be,
And she kind of shudders a little bit.
a bear. No matter what it is, I guarantee you it's hungry.
Well, it could be one of them rangers that Belladonna talked about. They're bigger than us, right?
And they say they move like shadows. That would be a stroke of luck.
I mean, we thought, what was her name? Brown Scuttle?
Brown luck?
Heather Brownlock, yeah.
Brownlock. We thought Heather Brownlock was something bad, and it wasn't. Maybe this is a ranger. Do you want me to go look and see? I could sneak up and
Well,
and
I
take a
could sneak
peek.
up on it if I wanted to sneak, but I'm telling you, I got a bad feeling about it.
Oh. Let's go a different way then. We don't have to go there. Like you were saying, I mean, we could cross this river anywhere. It's frozen, like Fred said. And it's later in the day, right, Rob? Now might be a
so
better
the
time. Yeah.
Night is actually beginning to fall. It is getting much colder. The wind is howling around you more than ever.
We're trying to get across to Brandy Hall.
Brandy Hall would be the safest bet, as you've been recommended, and Lolo can pretty much attest to that. You'd be welcome there if she's with you.
Look, I'm just saying. It is a little narrower down there by the ferry, but something there. I don't know what it was.
Narrower by what? A meter? It won't make that much of a difference, will it?
You're a meter. That's a long ways when you're walking.
She's more like 1.5.
1 1/4 at best.
I think we should see what's down there. There could be hobbits in trouble if there is something down there. And someone was down there trying to man the ferry.
Well, I don't think the ferry's been manned since the winter started to fall. But there might be supplies in the shed, in the outbuilding, whatever it would be called.
Yeah, you can tell Fred is curious and wants to investigate, even though maybe it isn't the best idea. So he's like that.
Yeah, well, if investigation is what you want, you absolutely may approach if that is your wish.
I don't think it is. I think it's like Fred's wish, but I don't think the rest of the team want to do that. So let's go somewhere else.
That's what I meant. Yeah, but it's fine. Yeah.
What do you want to do instead?
I think Mara wants to like just go and cross the river a little bit further up from the Buckleberry ferry, because it's getting late. The wind's really, like you said, the wind's starting to whip. He's like got his cloak pulled in really tight, and he's like trying not to shake as the cold starts to bite in to the
So, like,
bone.
a little closer to stock.
Yeah.
Even after we cross, how far out are we from Buck Hall or wherever?
Brandy Hall. Brandy Hall is.
Hall.
I don't know if you're looking
Pretty
at the map,
close.
but it's like it's just a little north of the ferry crossing.
You could make it in about an hour at a hasty pace.
So we could make it tonight.
You could make
If
it
we
tonight if you made the crossing here. Yeah.
Then Fred would push for that. If we don't want to cross right here, we move up for half an hour and then try and cross the ice, so that we can get to Brandy Hall tonight rather than have to camp outside tonight.
I agree. That's probably the best way to go. And it probably is a very good idea to put some distance between us and whatever it was you saw, because if it is a bear, I don't want to try to run away from a bear on ice while we're trying to cross.
There's no running from a bear.
Well, sure there is. You just have to run faster than everybody else.
Meriadoc laughs at that. He says, "That's what my brother used to say."
Let's move as quietly as we can then. Not draw any attention to ourselves. And he'll pull up the white hood of his rabbit cloak, and I guess maybe we'll move at a slow pace for this chunk and try and sneak.
Yeah, so you get advantage for stealth being hobbits, correct? Is it
No, you have
advantage?
proficiency. You get
No.
proficiency.
Double proficiency.
Oh, okay, so like an expertise. That's great. Yeah, so
If you're already in expertise, do you get an extra one?
No.
No, I'm afraid not. But in your white cloaks, in this whiteout, there should be nothing to fear. So stealth rolls then, if you wish to be stealthy about it, by all means.
Is that something that just one person's making, or do we all roll that?
You're all...
I'm trying not to roll if I can help it.
I
Because
love the
dice don't
persuasive
love it.
tone, Tamiko, but I'm afraid
Okay,
that's
okay.
not quite going to cut it, I'm afraid. We've got a
Okay,
23, we've
okay.
got a dirty 20. Very good.
So expertise. So I
So
basically
double your
add
proficiency
the
bonus.
proficiency again. Okay, that's not bad. 15.
15. Okay. You approach half an hour. You trudge, first of all, further north before then turning to face the river banks. Who's going first? I need an order here. I need an order, first of all, of who is stepping on that ice first.
I think Meriadoc would go first. He's a young hobbit. I think he wants to try to prove himself to these others because of things that he said earlier on. So he's like, I'll go first.
Wait. He'll grab him by the arm. Can you swim?
No.
I don't think it matters if you can swim or not if you fall in. But
I'm gonna.
Meriadoc.
I think Meriadoc looks at you when you say that, and there's like this really very grievous look on his face, like you don't have to tell me these things.
Well, the good news is the river only gets very, very, very deep in the springtime after the thaws from the mountains. So it's not as deep as it could possibly be.
That is good news.
I can go first if you like. I'm very small and
No. I'll go. This is
okay.
this is me. I got this. I can do it.
Well, here's use your stick and tap it ahead of you when you go.
Brandybucks have a history with fishing, using boats, such as their position in the
I know,
Shire.
those
so you would have the best chance of swimming if you were to fall in, but it still wouldn't be high. Low. So if that adds anything to your calculation.
My granddad always said that if you have to cross ice, you should do it on your belly.
Do we have like any rope or anything? Is that something we would have brought with us?
Yeah. You would have been given all of the
So
typical supplies.
Big Brain
for that sort of
Lolo's going to recommend that we tether ourselves to each other
thing.
before we set across.
Nice.
Okay. I think unless there's any more discussion on it, Meriadoc would lay on his belly, having been tethered to whoever's right behind him, and he'll start like low man, like crawling across this ice. And he's got like that his walking stick in both of his hands, and he's kind of like.
Fred's the biggest, so he'll go last.
Okay, so what was the order? Sorry, it was Lolo at the front.
Lolo, Mary's in front. Lolo would be right behind him, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then Fox, then Fred.
Mara, Lolo, Phlox, Fred. So in that case, then, Mara, you are the first to step or lower yourself onto the ice, and you say you're sort of arching yourselves forward, like
Yeah. Yep. If you ever seen like a high
belly.
crawl, it's knees and elbows.
Yeah, and you're doing your best from Fredegar's advice to make sure that your weight is evenly distributed as the four of you slowly push yourself onto the ice. Where your hands press against the cold surface, you can see that they leave an impression. Impressions that wipe away some of the snow to reveal the slick, half-transparent surface beneath. And all you can see is just murky blackness. You're upon a thin sheet of nothing above oblivion. This is the widest river of the whole area of the Shire. And now you, the four of you, before any other hobbits of your generation or a generation before that, are making your way across it. I would like you all to give me a perception check, please, and it will be one of a few. Oh, okay. Lolo, you are second in the order, and you get the highest perception, which means Mara in front of you, because he's been crawling in front of you, has been pushing a good portion of the snow that settled on the ice, giving you, unfortunately, a much bleaker view beneath you than what he is getting. You see this blackness beneath you, and then you almost double take, but beneath that ice you see a face.
I think Lolo actually like yelps and and jerks a little bit, I would think. I know.
Your yelp is lost in the wind that's blowing around you. You look in horror. You don't know whether you recognize.
Is it a dead face?
Yes, a dead hobbit had fallen in at some point, and is now sort of like grimly, macabrely, sort of like pressed to the underside of the ice.
And what is it? This is not the way. and Lolo's pointing. And what is it? And moves. What is it? And crawls quickly away from it, because now at this point, Lolo would very much like to get across this ice.
As you do so, like I said, it's one of a few perception checks. I'd like you to make another one, please, each of you, as you press on across the ice.
I don't think I want to be doing well with these checks.
I don't know which is worse, because because I think,
Oh my God, it's Lolo again.
like a bad one is you don't hear the ice cracking, and a good one is you see something horrible,
Yeah. I think being blissfully ignorant at the front is fitting really well for me.
It's two things that you realize, Lolo, and unfortunately you're the only one that does. Lloyd was right. You absolutely hear a vile echoing crack resonates right at where your belly is pressed against the ice.
Lolo tries to think very fast. Is it better to try to scurry off, or to stay and spread?
You are about halfway across the river at this point, the four of you.
Okay.
Lolo, you stopped moving.
Hold up.
Ice is cracking! It's cracking right underneath my belly!
Tug on the rope from Mara because he's keep going.
Okay, lay very still. Mara's gonna have to pull you. Lay totally flat.
Okay.
Mara, if you intend to pull Lolo over the fragile patch that you appear to have stumbled across or crawled across, that's going to require a check. So let me see. I think that's got to be
Athletics, obviously.
I think it's got to be. Yeah.
I'm a young hobbit, Lolo, so I want to get that out there before this roll.
We're about the same size-ish.
Natural 20 for a total of 20.
That is amazing. Tell me what it's like as you pull Lolo across the large crack and prevent the ice from caving through.
Literally, Mara is totally oblivious to the cracking of the ice, right? Because it's loud. There's this wind kind of whipping down across it. And he's just trundling along because he's proud of himself. You know, he doesn't even feel the cold that he's going to feel when he gets to the other side because he's like, they trust me to go first. This is great. And I'm just going and I'm thinking, wow, I must be getting tired because it just is so much harder to go, but I can't let the others down. And I'm just going to keep going. And that's what he does. And he just slowly is tugging Lolo along.
Lolo's trying to distribute her weight as evenly as possible, so she's like full on starfishing, like on the ice.
Phlox is going to, as Lolo's moving forward, Phlox is going to try and skirt around, presumably with Fred following behind, skirt around the thin patch.
Yeah, you're at a really awkward position at this point with the rope. It's because there's two of you here, and the rope attaching you, and the crack running through the middle of you beneath. You can absolutely go around the crack, no problem. That won't affect you. I need a final perception check, please.
Oh God, I'm just waiting for us to see something come from the other side of the bank. Ooh, dirty 20.
Okay, so that's a dirty 20 from Floxana, 19 for Fred, 15 for Maridoc. Was that 16 your total, Lolo, for that one?
Yeah.
Am I reading that right? Okay, yeah.
Well, you know, she's probably not seeing much with her face like down in the ice.
Who got the highest? That was Floxana. Floxana, you're the one that is leading you and Fred around the crack, and like I was saying, it's really uncomfortable where the rope that has bound you to Lolo in front of you is actually digging in quite tight because you're at the zenith of the distance that rope can make, basically, to get around that crack. And then you see a dark shape. It is moving unhurriedly through the snow that continues to whip around you. This thing, in comparison to you, as we were discussing earlier, is as if one of us was standing in front of a Shire horse, but far more muscular and far more powerful. A great white wolf is stalking across the middle of the river. It stops about 15 feet from your position, and you can see out of the corner of your eye, is twitching its nose. You hear it scenting the air. The wind around you is blowing in every which direction, twirling around you. You imagine, if you were to think about this clearly, in the panic that is gripping you, that perhaps it isn't that easy for such a creature to be able to lock a scent upon you, but this thing is very close, and you know it knows you're there. This is confirmed when the beast speaks. Intriguing. I have followed your scent for a day now, and yet I cannot perceive you. A feat indeed to evade my senses. Where are you? Where are you? It's scanning the area around you. The four of you are rigidly stuck to the spot, as if frozen. Is there anything that is running through? I mean, let's see. Phlox, you were the one that got the highest perception roll. You were the one that locked onto it first. Is there anything that is running through your mind right now that you wish to express?
I want you to tell me if Meridoc and Lolo are here, and the ice crack is here, and I'm over here with Fred. Where's the wolf?
The wolf is between the ice crack. Sorry, the wolf is on the opposite side of the ice crack to where you are.
Yes,
you have the same plan.
Yeah.
So maybe Fred like tugs on the rope gently to get Lola's attention.
Flux.
Yes, sorry, Flux.
Yeah. Flux like looks at you and looks at the where the cracked ice was and looks back at you.
He'll sort of gesture in the snow.
Oh my god. Your screen's too small. You gotta tell me what your gesture.
He gestures, you and me go that way, so that we put ourselves firmly behind the crack.
We're already behind the crack, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're basically already there, but if you, that would be your route of carrying on, sure.
So that if it catches our scent and it rushes towards us, it 100% goes in the crack. Because getting out the other side is less safe, actually.
Yeah. So she's wondering, she's like,
It gives another long snort, like its breath erupts before it, as if it were the breath of a dragon almost. It scans the area, just these brilliant red eyes in the snow, just scanning the ice. And he repeats, I know that you're there. Why not rise to your feet and put an end to the hunt? I assure you, the road beyond is far more treacherous. This is not your land. The Shire, I've heard your pitiful calls in the night. Others have dwelt here long before your kind, and they shall when there are no more of you. Put an end to it. Put an end and surrender to Scoth.
Fred gestures to Flux and he says, when I count to 3, we both stand and run for the shore. It's okay. just look at me. And he's going to like very carefully reach back for one of his dwarven pots and grab the handle and pull it loose. And he's going to throw it in the direction of the crack. And then him and Phlox are going to stand and run. That's the intent. So it'll go clang, clang, and then hopefully he'll go rah, and rush off towards it. And then we can fucking leg it for the shore.
Oh God, maybe he would land on the crack.
Maybe it might buy us a second or two.
Right, so this is how we're going to do this then. I want you to choose whichever you think is the most appropriate skill to get you up and away from the ice, across the ice. I'm going to oppose that with a roll from the Winter Wolf.
Okay.
Okay.
I think maybe for this it's sleight of hand because I'm trying to deceive with the pot. What do you think? Or stealth to run and not get hurt.
Deception maybe. There's a deception skill, isn't there?
I don't want to do that. I'm bad at it.
Okay, gotcha.
I can do acrobatics to get my feet and to help Fred balance when we're up.
Okay. So let's do this as a skill challenge then. So each of you select a skill because I'm going to because obviously Lolo and Maradoc are going to have to react to this as well as you're all tied together. So each of you can discuss now which roll you're going to do, and then we will roll off. And depending on the total, will determine who is able to move out of the way in time.
I think my best chance for survival is to do stealth and you to do acrobatics.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, we'll do that.
We can't. I think we're too far to communicate with the other two, so they'll probably just notice that we're running.
Yeah, it's going to be like this tug to Lolo, and then a tug for.
I'm just going to be like dragging them across the ice. Honestly,
we have to choose. Do we have to choose different skills for the skill challenge?
Yeah.
Okay, Lolo's going to go athletics then to to reactively grab onto the rope. And drag behind.
Amazing. So I would like you to roll your totals and then we'll discover what happens. And could you put in the chat which skills you're using as well, please, just so I know.
Oh my God.
The total and the skill that you used. Thank you.
Don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die. Oh, I dropped the...
Yeah, make it good.
Oh my God.
Oh, fuck.
No.
Guys, I'm really worried about all your reactions right now.
I'm so sorry.
No.
But if you all do really well, oh God.
How could you get a 9?
I rolled a 3.
Oh no.
No, so it's an 8, not a 9. It's worse.
Right. Okay. I'm now rolling for the wolf. The Winter Wolf.
This is bad.
It's real bad, yeah.
Okay.
This is bad.
Lolo and I are fucked. We're wolf meat.
Right.
We're all connected.
Yeah.
This is the concern. Because half of you have succeeded and half of you have failed. What is it exactly that you did again, Lloyd? You hurled the pan?
So he took one of his copper pots and he hurled it towards the crack so that it would clang loudly. And it would sound like he dropped it by accident, sort of, you know? So away from him, so it'd like skitter away, and then his plan is as soon as that happens, him and Phlox will stand and run.
It's a blur of motion. The clang, and it reacts like lightning. The great beast goes and hurls itself at the point of impact. It lands and sees the scurrying. It sees you moving. The crack makes a terrifying noise. It echoes across the frozen river. It spots all of you running and sees that those who failed are the ones who are nearest to it. And I'm afraid I'm going to need your armor class, Lolo.
So I was farther back. Lolo was farther ahead of me. So I would probably be closest.
Yeah, it's landing basically in the middle. So Lolo is one side, Phlox is on the other. And that's where he's... Actually, to be fair, he would be going for Fred. You are right. You're absolutely right. He'd be going in that direction. Sorry, Phlox, what is your armor class?
14.
Sorry, 14.
Wait. Before we say, I have protection fighting style. Oh, I don't have my shield on, I don't think. Do I need that? Let me just check it. Because I can impose disadvantage if I'm next to you.
It does require a shield.
It does, okay. I don't have it equipped. Never mind.
It
He's got a
leaps
pot.
forward in an attempt to seize you. And it's able to seize you, I'm afraid, Phlox, as crunch. The ice collapses beneath its paws. It gives a great howl as it falls into the water and begins dragging you with it. Whoever's closest, so either Lolo or Fred may make a let's just say a straight dexterity saving throw to see if they are able to just react in time to help you.
You want to do that, Lloyd?
Yeah, I do.
Fist pumping.
19 on the deck save.
So my son case came in here. So what happened? Like you're getting pulled in with the wolf?
I'm getting pulled underwater.
Oh no.
I got a 19 on my deck save.
Okay, so the great beast just launches into the air, and what happens is it sort of changes direction because it lands, spots that you are the easiest prey, Phlox, and just snaps, bam! Its jaws just slam like a castle gate on the rope that's bound around you. So as the ice gives way, it comes down and you are pulled with it. Fred, how did you prevent that from happening?
He is going to cut the rope immediately on the side of Phlox. Sorry, on his side, because I think it's going to be biting between
you and it.
Okay, yeah.
And Phlox, yeah.
So, I have to cut it on her side for her not to fall in, I think.
Yes, because it landed between. Yeah, so it would be on.
So he's going to rush, unthinking. He's going to rush. I have a special ability where I can be in the same space as a creature that's bigger than me.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So he's going to rush between its legs, and he's going to try and like where it's chewing the rope, just like grab it and cut it with his sword that has been cutting leather for decades. So he's going to try and cut the rope so that she won't be pulled in with it.
That is amazing. I'm not going to ask you to do an attack. I think because, as you say, it's been cutting leather for so many years, and that was set up earlier in the session, which I love. I love that has now come back to help you. So the rope comes free. The two hobbits, Mara and Lolo, would also have been dragged because obviously you're all attached to each other. But Phlox, you literally feel the relief and the tension just snap as the winter wolf plunges into the water, being enveloped by black liquid, and vanishes into the water after giving a devastating howl, and you fall to the ice.
Run!
As you begin running, I am now going to need each of you to do a skill challenge because the ice is cracking.
Oh my
I will use the same initiative as before, just because it will speed things up. So first of all, we need a number of successes before a number of fails. Fred, you're the first to go.
Okay, I want to, before I do my roll, check, because I don't want to use a stat that somebody else needs to survive. So you're going to use athletics, I think. Food, is that one of your good ones? Or survival?
Survival would be preferable.
Okay, awesome. And Taylor, acrobatics or?
I'll use perception.
Okay, all right. Then I will use acrobatics. I guess let's do that.
Which is better for you, perception or acrobatics?
Perception is better. It's a 4.
Okay, then you use perception. I'll use acrobatics.
Okay, so he'll look and see. I guess it's like now there are various like ice flows appearing, like cracks all over the place, and he's trying to spot a route where he could like bounce his way out, basically. So let's see if he can manage that. Come on, Fred. It's the most important roll of your life. It's 12 on the die, so 16.
Yeah, you're just able to navigate that, like you say, it's like roots of a tree almost, just spreading like wildfire before you, or wild ice in this case. But you're able to hop from one to the other. You just feel the weight of some of the ice just give completely behind you as you are just successful.
I was terrified. I'm not connected to the rope anymore, so I'm very afraid.
Yes, you should be. You are at the most risk at this point. So that is one success. Congratulations. We move to Phlox. You fall against the ice, the tension is cut, but now you are nearest that hole.
Phlox's adrenaline is rushing, and she is shockingly nimble. A 24 acrobatics, as she has this burst of adrenaline, and is like, ting, 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 ting.
That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Fantastic. Okay. Next is Lolo.
So I rolled survival, and boy howdy, is it survival. Lolo kind of gets up onto her feet, but doesn't stand fully erect. She does like one of these
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
she does a Gollum wobble across the rest
Amazing.
of the fucking ice. That's a 17.
Success, you're able to keep your balance. Your hands are slipping this way and that as you just feel uneven portions of the surface beneath you just cracking away into oblivion. Mara.
Well, everything is happening so fast for Mara, right? He hears the cracking of the ice. He hears the wolf. All of a sudden, like the wolf just lunges. And there's more cracking, and he yells, but it's probably his voice is just whipped away by this wind as he says, "The ice is cracking!" And also, you know, he's tugged by the rope as everything is just happening. And he grabs the rope with both of his hands. He drops his beloved walking stick, clatter, 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 to the snow and ice. And he just grabs it, and he just starts pumping his little hobbit legs as I get an 18 on my athletics.
Oh, that's excellent. Fantastic. Yeah. Amazing. So that was a full round of successes. Let's keep that up. We're back to the top. Fred.
More? Oh my god.
Hobbit legs only carry you so far, Lloyd.
Yeah.
We used all our good skills the first round.
Yeah.
I know.
Yep.
How many successes do we need?
Can you run me through what was used?
I'm sorry, I should have told you, shouldn't I? Okay. I'm pretty sure we had acrobatics. We had we had survival.
I did acrobatics, survival. That was athletics from Lionel.
You
I did
did
perception. Yeah.
I did acrobatics.
You did acrobatics. Okay.
Perception.
So my
there was
remaining
survival. What was Lionel's? Athletics.
Athletics, yes. Yeah.
Acrobatics, perception, survival. Yeah, sorry, I should have made a note.
Okay.
I guess I can do
So those are
freaking
left.
nature this time.
There's how many left?
I
How many successes do we need?
I don't know if I should tell you that, to be honest.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Rob.
Mhm.
Would you allow a medicine check because we're trying not to die?
No.
Okay, my remaining good ones.
You aren't far. Let me just put it that way.
My remaining good ones are stealth, sleight of hand, and insight.
I don't have anything good left. What is
Okay.
it? Nature's probably the best. That's a 1.
All right, stealth is doesn't make sense here, so I got to cut that out. Maybe an argument can be made for sleight of hand to grab Mara as he like leaps to try and grab in the air.
Yeah, I'll accept that. Yeah. Sure.
Okay, let's try that.
Mhm.
Let's go. It's not 1. It's the worst possible
Oh
result.
no!
Oh no.
Yep.
And so that was a failure on the
Sleight of hand.
sleight of hand. Right. Okay. Phlox,
And,
you're up.
oh, sorry.
No, it's okay, Lolo. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Phlox, what are you using?
Phlox will be using. God, I mean,
You
None
can
of
use
this
sleight
made
of
any
hand
sense.
now that I didn't.
Yeah, sleight of hand. I would accept stealth as well. I think, I don't know, I think trying to, well, no, you're not evading the cracks, are you? It's more about evading the cracks in the wolf at this point. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try sleight of hand then.
Mhm.
13.
It's a failure. Lolo?
11.
For what?
Sorry, I was doing nature.
That's a failure.
Yep.
Oh dear, the ice appears to just be disintegrating around you all as you appear to be getting closer to the banks, but it still doesn't to be quite enough. You are just short.
This is a
Mara,
really short
what do you
campaign.
get?
Like, why don't we make it so everybody fails on this one, right? Yeah.
No,
So I get it.
Nope, real good.
No, it's too late. It's too late, Lloyd. So, like Mara can almost see the bank, right? It kind of rises up from this frozen deathscape that we find ourselves on, and all of a sudden he feels that tug on the rope, and he turns and he goes, "Come on, guys, we can do this!" As I get a 6, and again the wind just whips my voice away, and all you see is Mara's voice going as he's getting dragged closer to everyone else.
Oh my goodness. We are on the brink, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, let's have another one. What have we got left?
Is it?
Nothing. There's nothing left.
me
I'm
again?
going to say we've run out of
No,
all
we
three spots.
failed all those, so we could use
Okay.
those.
Oh,
Yeah,
So
we
you
can
could
do them
use
again.
sleight of hand,
Sleight of
nature,
hand,
maybe
nature,
insight, investigation,
Insight and investigation, yes.
Okay. Sleight of hand
performance.
is 3 is my best one. So sleight of
Alright.
hand is my best.
Okay.
Yeah, do that.
So maybe he lands after the first jump and like slips on some of the ice, and he's like now just desperately trying to grab onto the rope or anything that will give him some cover, and it is it's a 12 plus 3, 15, which I think is good.
Makes 5 successes, which
Oh
means
my
you are
God.
over. Literally,
Okay.
what is it like?
Right.
You're the last over, Fred. So what is it like as you are like the
Oh
last
my
off the
God.
ice as it cracks into oblivion?
Yeah, he's like jumping from one piece of ice to the next, and he's not even landing really. He's like skidding from one and then like jumping on to the next one. And he jumps for the last jump, and there's not enough ice for him to like push off of. So he barely gets into the air, and then he just starts pulling on the rope, and the others who are on the he's like grabbed their rope. The others who are on there will like pull him the rest of the way in the air, I guess. Like he's like jumped up and then just boom, and he'll spoof into the snow. Barely.
Amazing. As you are all able to turn back, you see this twisting, dark shape amidst the ice and amidst the water. It had given one ear-splitting howl before it had collapsed in. I mean, I don't imagine that you stick around too long because you don't know whether that thing's coming out or not. So you are able to press away from the bank. You cross the Brandywine River and are now charging towards the forest that awaits you. As you do, it doesn't require a perception check. It's almost like around the howling, through the howling wind, you see shapes rushing around you in the darkness. If you were to look back at the bank, you would have just spotted the other wolves that were preparing to funnel you across into a trap, had just missed you. You are charging into the darkness, and your only hope is Brandy Hall. And we will see if you get there next time.